We will resume our session. As agreed this morning, we will now examine the nomination of Rosia Montana. We will proceed with the examination of several boundaries modification, as well as a statement of OUV and sub-item 8D and 8E. We will then examine the state of conservation of Socotra, Yemen, and the general decision on item 7. Following this, I propose to examine item 11 concerning the draft policy compendium, item 12B on governance and then 10A on periodic reporting. Finally, we will examine item 8C, which concern the update of World Heritage List and World Heritage List in danger. Thank you. We will deal now with nomination of Rosia Montana, Mining Landscape, Romania. I give the floor to the Secretariat, Mr. Balsamo. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to inform the committee that on 28 June last, we received a letter from Romania in which it is notified that the Romanian government requests the nomination plan to be examined by the committee during its current session to be referred. As you know, Rosia Montana Mining Landscape is currently recommended for inscription. However, Article 11.3 of the Convention establishes that the inclusion of a property on the World Heritage List requires the consent of the state concerned. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. As information provided by the Secretariat before the presentation of the evaluation of this nomination is very relevant for the conduct of this debate. With the permission of the committee, I would like to invite the concerned state party to provide us with more information in depth about their requests. Is there any objection? We have 3 intervention, four. Australia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Firstly, I should indicate that Australia has no objection at all to hearing from the State Party of Romania. Indeed, I think the committee's consideration would be greatly facilitated by hearing from the State Party. And while it would not be in alignment with the usual practice, I think given the sensitivity of the issues that at hand, it would be helpful for the committee to hear from the State Party by way of explanation as to their request for a referral at the outset of our consideration. The second thing I would like to flag is that we will have a question for the legal advisor about the framing of the current draft amendment, and I'll pose the question now, and perhaps the legal advisor can then contemplate it and come back once we've heard from the State Party. And that question is it within the scope of the committee to make a decision to refer on the basis of a request that referral be made due to the fact that there is an arbitration underway? Or is the committee really only able to make decisions that sit within the scope of the operational guidelines and the convention itself? So just to clarify whether we can take a decision that references the arbitration, or whether we should really be adhering very clearly to the bounds of the operational guidelines. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kuwait, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the input of my colleagues in Australia, so I postpone my comment after hearing from the State Party.
Thank you very much. Hungary, please.
Dear Chairperson, I have a comment on the very case. I don't know whether we able to read it for, or wait a minute after the State Party's statement. If you allow, then I read it. If not, then I will wait it.
Yes, you can read it.
Thank you very much. A long discussion preceded the nomination of Rosia Montana mining landscape. The Hungarian delegation warmly welcomes the nomination of this exceptional site. The region provided the richest golden mines in the Carpathian Basin and in Europe during more millennia. The utmost significance can be attested in the Roman era, as special mining communities were settled here for the high-level exhaustion of this metal. The archaeological remains of Alburnus Major testify this activity in the 2nd and 3rd centuries AD, and the wooden tablets found in mining galleries provide an extraordinarily important source material for the research of this community and for the legal practice in the Roman Empire, and a solid base for the World Heritage nomination. The plan of the Canadian Mining Company and the Rosia Montana Gold Corporation intended to exhaust some 300,000 gold and some 15,000 tons silver in the region through open-cast methods, annihilating and exploding more hills without any archaeological investigation, surely having more kilometer-long Roman galleries, and by using cyanides to extract pure gold, and after building a more than 180-meter high dam in a nearby valley, and an artificial lake to contain this high poisonous liquid. The decision of the Romanian government to submit the long-desired nomination of the site in the World Heritage List put a full stop to this farcical fight between investors and groups and activities and scientists of natural and cultural heritage all over the world. The positive decision of the committee, recommended by the AB advisory body, could be of great importance for enhancing and preserving of the site, deserving its better conservation, and deserving also the values of the World Heritage Site, as a World Heritage Site. However, there is an ongoing international arbitration case, and the State Party requested a referral for the nomination. Hungary can support such a decision of the committee, but underlines that Hungary is convinced that there is no direct connection between the World Heritage status of Rosia Montana and the ongoing international arbitration. Since, according to present legislation, no mining activity may be executed in the region of Rosia Montana. For the sake of acknowledging the site's outstanding universal value, as clearly stated in the draft decision, in order to further encourage the State Party its endeavor to protect the site, Hungary respects the State Party's request, supports the proposal of Azerbaijan, therefore can agree with the referral, underlining that according to the advisory body and further expert opinion, the site is already ready for inscription. The rightful prolongement of the site's inscription is not fully justified. Hungary truly hopes that the State Party, may the committee decide to refer the nomination back to the State Party, can use this gesture of the committee and will return with the nomination for the 43rd session of the committee. In order to foster the state of conservation of the property, Hungary strongly recommends the state party that by assuring the overall legal protection of the site to work further on the rehabilitation of its monuments. Hungary further urged the state party to work in close cooperation with the advisory body and the committee and to continue reporting on its efforts. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Azerbaijan, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Azerbaijan would like to thank the advisory body for its report, and we take note of the advisory body's evaluation whereby the nominated property justifies OUV on the basis of criteria 2 and 4. And however, having this new information from the state party concerned, namely Romania, we believe that the best decision at this stage would be referral of the nomination back to the state party, considering the ongoing international arbitration case. And at the same time to have certain recommendations in this draft decision as well. So with this in mind, Azerbaijan has proposed certain amendments to the original draft decision. And of course, we support the proposal to create opportunity for state party to present their arguments. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Tanzania, please.
Thank you very much, Chair. Tanzania takes note of the presentation done by the Delegate Committee, but also Tanzania wants to align with what Australia said. One, we would wish to get to the state party to be given a floor so as to clarify on this issue. But secondly, we would want to get guidance from the legal advisor on whether this decision needs the approval of this committee.
Thank you very much. China, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this is a rare moment in our session that has gone some very different cases during the past 2 days, where state parties are asking for changing referral to inscription, while this one is the opposite way. China is in the position of supporting this amendment proposed by colleagues from Azerbaijan because this is the this has precedence. Because, dear Chair, if you allow, I would remind the colleagues from here that in Turkey 40th COM, we had this exactly the same case from Canada. And the committee gives the state party more time to think about the management issues, and the state party went home happily. And thank you, Chair, for your patience.
Thank you very much. Cuba, please.
Sí, gracias, señora presidenta. Nuestra delegación también desea hacer referencia a algunos argumentos que ya han esgrimido otras delegaciones, y es a la importancia de tener en cuenta el planteamiento que hace el Estado parte, pero además también lo contempla así la Convención y sus directrices operativas, que toda inscripción tiene que ser justo con el acuerdo del Estado parte. No me queda clara la propuesta de Hungría. Según nos explicaba ayer la asesora jurídica, no es posible definir el valor universal excepcional hasta tanto no hay una declaratoria del comité. Creo que tenemos que ser cuidadosos con esto, y en este momento estamos simplemente aplazando esta decisión y no pronunciándonos sobre su valor. En todo caso, agradecemos al Estado parte la información y la gestión y el manejo sobre el sitio, pero estaremos pendientes a la decisión y a las enmiendas, y nos parece que tenemos que ser coherentes con los argumentos que nos dio ayer la asesora jurídica. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Indonesia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. According to the nominations documents of Rosia Montana Mining Landscape, the property nominated by Romania is recommended for inscription. The advisory body stated that both criteria under which the property is nominated, in this case criteria 2 and 4, are justified and well demonstrated, and all aspects of integrity, authenticity, management and protection requirements of the property are declared adequately. Despite this positive recommendation, the state party has interestingly proposed the nominations to be referred back to the state party, taking into account the ongoing international arbitration related to this property. After carefully studying the draft amendment and other supplementary documents in which the admirable yet rather unusual request is reflected, Indonesia is of the view to honor the request of the state party concerned, and thus we recommend to endorse the status of referral to the property. We would also like to commend the state party on this respectful gesture that shows a willingness to compromise with local and domestic authorities that led to the decisions to forego the opportunity for inscriptions of the property. An act that is clearly along the line with the spirit of consensus that we always try to enforce in UNESCO. We are, however, looking forward to welcome the inscriptions of the property in the near future. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Tunisia, please.
Merci Madame la Présidente. La Tunisie veut saluer l'esprit de responsabilité de l'État partie qui a choisi de partager avec nous des difficultés juridiques qui risquent demain de rendre compliquée peut-être notre décision d'aujourd'hui et encore plus la préservation et la protection de ce site à inscrire. Donc nous saluons cet esprit et nous nous joignons à la demande de renvoi.
Thank you very much. Now we'll give the legal advisor the floor to just answer the questions, and then we'll go back to
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. In relation to the question posed by the Australian delegation and on which a number of other delegations have made related questions or remarks, whether the committee has the power to refer a matter back to a state party consequent on a request that referral be made by the state because an arbitration is underway. On a simple reading of the language of paragraph 159 of the operational guidelines, I see no legal impediment to this. It doesn't state that the additional information which is requested in the case of a referral needs to be only and exclusively additional information further in support of the nomination. I would note, however, that in line with ordinary practice in relation to referrals, it would need to be, this information would need to come to the committee within 3 years, otherwise the matter would need to be considered as a new nomination. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hungary, you have the floor.
Excuse me for the second time. It is only for a clarification. It was a citation I quoted from the draft decision of the advisory of the advisory body of the ICOMOS, the outstanding universal value. So I didn't propose it, as from the distinguished delegates of Cuba mentioned was. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And now the state party, to clarify, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, distinguished Madam Chairperson, esteemed members of the committee and Secretariat, distinguished observers. First of all, and on behalf of Romania, I would like to recall that my country is fully committed to the protection and conservation of the nominated property. Unfortunately, as you have heard already, the property is linked to an ongoing arbitral proceeding at the International Center for Settlement of Investment Disputes, an entity of the World Bank Group. Therefore, and in order to protect both the national heritage and the economic rights of the submitting state party, the government of Romania requests the nomination to be referred. At this point in time,
any other decision of the committee would negatively impact my country from an economic, judicial and social point of view. It would affect Romania's capacity to defend its position in the arbitration and would be used by the mining company to build up its accusations and to exercise additional pressure on my government. My government is not willing to pay a huge amount of financial damages claimed by the mining company. This is about $4.37 billion US. Money which in the end, ultimately, would have to be supported by each Romanian citizen, including the local community. The Romanian authorities also consider that an inscription decision of Rosia Montana property should be taken only if the site is not subject of any litigation. As ICOMOS rightly underlined in its evaluation, the ongoing arbitration limits the actions of the state party. A hasty and forced inscription against the will and against the official position of the government of Romania would not help in any way further protection and conservation measures or with the enhancement and promotion of the property. I also like to underline that there is no certain threat towards the integrity of the property in the case of a referral decision by the committee, as the subject of the arbitral file is the obtaining of damages and not reopening of mining exploitation. I'll stop there. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Spain, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. Yo creo que estos días hemos tenido varias discusiones sobre las facultades que tiene este comité y la capacidad o no de reconocer el valor universal. España no tiene ningún inconveniente en que se adopte o que se proponga un referral. A nosotros nos parecería quizás jurídicamente más correcto posponer esta decisión, pero como he dicho, no tenemos ningún inconveniente en que se refiera a esta decisión, ni tampoco que se tome nota de la evaluación que ha sido hecha por los organismos evaluadores. Muchísimas gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you very much. Kuwait, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. After hearing from the state party and especially from the legal advisor, the state of Kuwait support the draft amendment submitted by Azerbaijan for a refer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Zimbabwe, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. After hearing from the state party, Zimbabwe accepts and supports the proposal by Azerbaijan. We respect the wishes of the state party.
Norway, please. Thank you very much. Norway.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Firstly, I would like to say that after having carefully studied the nomination file and the evaluation from the advisory body, it is Norway's primary stance to support the draft decision to inscribe the Roman gold mines of Rosia Montana on the World Heritage List and at the same time on the World Heritage List in danger. Anyway, after hearing the request from the state party to the committee to refer the nomination, we are ready to discuss which is the best decision to serve the property in the best way. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Tanzania, please.
Thank you, Chair. Having listened to the state party and the clarification by the legal advisor, Tanzania supports referral.
Thank you very much. Australia, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think we were firstly very pleased to hear directly from the state party about the reasons for the referral. I think that's incredibly helpful to the committee, and thank you to Romania for that. It was also, I think, incredibly helpful to the committee to hear the legal advice about what is reasonably within the scope for consideration by the committee under Article 159 of the operational guidelines, and I think that's been great clarification for us to have. Australia is able to support the draft amendment as put forward by Azerbaijan, but we would note that we would be more comfortable with a formulation that put the primary rationale for referring the property back to the States Party being based on the need to improve the management arrangements for the property, which to our reading would be a more substantive basis in the operational guidelines for the committee to do so, but we would also be comfortable with noting the basis on which the States Party had sought referral, that is because there is the international arbitration underway, and we would be happy to put forward some amendments to that end if the committee did wish to see them.
Thank you very much. Now I give the NGOs the floor.
Madam Chair, thank you for giving me the floor. Distinguished members of the World Heritage Committee, I represent Europa Nostra, the voice of cultural heritage in Europe. Rosia Montana needs your firm and immediate support. Nominated for inscription on the World Heritage List, the site is recommended by ICOMOS on the World Heritage List and on the list of World Heritage in danger. The sense of urgency that results from such a clear recommendation has been endangered by a recent disturbing piece of news indicating a potential request from the State Party to UNESCO to delay the decision of the World Heritage Committee on this case, or now to be referred to the State Party. After so many years of relentless struggle by a wide and active segment of civil society, including Europa Nostra, to save this site from the proposed highly destructive mining project, we are of the opinion that the recommendation of ICOMOS provides an adequate response to the protection needs of Rosia Montana. The inscription of the site will ensure its urgent protection and would mark the beginning of a new era of sustainable development for the local communities concerned, which have far too long been neglected and so negatively impacted by the many years of resistance to the threats caused by the proposed mining project. We are hopeful that the World Heritage Committee will reach on this very session in Bahrain a positive decision to inscribe Rosia Montana site on both lists. We urge you to carefully examine all recommendations made by ICOMOS and also to duly take into account the concerned voices of civil society acting at local, national and European levels. Yesterday, the Honorable Delegate of Kuwait stated, "It is always a committee that has the power to decide. Please decide to inscribe the site today. The inscription is a great chance to conserve the site for future generations." Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much. Now, after we hear the comments of Azerbaijan and Australia, please, our reporter, could you please show us the amendments?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. As we have heard, I have received amendment on this draft decision submitted by Azerbaijan. The original draft decision would have inscribed this property on the list of World Heritage and simultaneously inscribe it on the list of World Heritage in danger. This amendment proposes instead to refer the nomination back to the State Party. As such, the original draft decision is heavily modified. And if I just may, Madam Chair, draw the attention of the committee, especially after hearing the discussions on paragraph 4, which would now be the paragraph that refers the nomination back to the State Party. If I understood correctly, we might have comments regarding the formulation of these paragraphs. As for the rest of the decision, I trust that it was already introduced by the author, and we have had sufficient time to study that it was distributed beforehand. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Australia, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Look, I am going to make a couple of suggestions for amendments for the consideration of the committee. So the first suggested amendment is to paragraph 3 on the screen at the moment, and it would be to change it to say acknowledges the official request for referral made by the submitting state party, or official request for referral made by the submitting state party until the ongoing international arbitration is resolved. And then paragraph 4 would be amended by deleting that same text, so deleting until, and substituting instead the words to finalise the measures required to ensure the protection and management of the potential OUV of the property as identified by ICOMOS. And that, to Australia's mind, would put the decision more clearly in the framing of the operational guidelines and the core reasons why we would, in the normal course of events, refer a proposal back to the state party.
Thank you very much. Kuwait, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. We agree with the suggestion made by the Australian. We believe this way we have more in line with the operational guide. So we agree with what's been submitted by Australia. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hungary, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Firstly, Hungary supports the amendments given and told by Australia. We agree with them. The second point is that within the recommendations, Hungary would like to give a more point to the recommendation, and it is the following one. Hungary further urges the state party to work in close cooperation with the advisory body and the committee, and to continue reporting on its efforts, if it is possible to add to the recommendations. Should I read again or not?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I apologize for taking the floor. I would like to request from the distinguished delegate of Hungary to indicate where he would like to put this proposed new paragraph. Thank you.
It is not a new paragraph. It is within the recommendations. So Hungary thinks that it would be very important if living contact and dialogue could be evolved between the advisory body and the state party during the next couple of years or time, to be able to give a really very good nomination without any questions.
The reporter, please.
Thank you very much. And I thank for this explanation. My question would have been where exactly in the text, but following this intervention, I would then maybe suggest that this could be the final paragraph of this recommendation, if the distinguished delegate of Hungary agrees, and then we could put it on the screen.
Thank you very much for this clarification. Okay. it can be given as a new paragraph as well. Originally, we thought that it could be given to the fifth paragraph, but now I read it again for the paragraph 6. Hungary further owes that the state party should work in close cooperation or ask to be work in close cooperation with the advisory body and the committee and continue reporting on its efforts to be able to submit the final nomination on the property.
Thank you very much. Cuba, please.
Sí, gracias, señora presidenta. Yo estoy un poco perdida porque tenía una enmienda para el párrafo 3. Tengo algunas dudas con el párrafo 3. De momento estamos en el párrafo 6. Después pasan cosas que no podemos seguir. Entonces, yo le pediría, por favor, si este es el momento, si se va a ver párrafo por párrafo, si puedo regresar al párrafo 3. Porque nos sigue preocupando, comprendemos la preocupación de la enmienda de Australia, pero nos sigue preocupando que se está vulnerando la soberanía del Estado en presentar una candidatura. Estamos utilizando un lenguaje incluso para el párrafo 6 que pareciera un estado, o sea, el seguimiento de un estado de conservación y no de una inscripción. Si estamos devolviendo el expediente al Estado, debemos cuidar las palabras con que estamos formulando la decisión, porque en ese caso ya parecería que es una obligatoriedad que ellos presenten nuevamente el expediente. Entonces, en ese texto que dice hasta que el arbitraje en curso llegue a su final, a su término, estaría condicionando que es su obligatoriedad volverlo a presentar. Entonces, yo creo que esto condiciona mucho la decisión y en nuestro caso nos parecería mejor volver a la versión de la enmienda de Azerbaiyán. Y la última, la recomendación del párrafo 6, también está más asociado al seguimiento de un estado de conservación de un sitio ya inscrito que a una misma propuesta que estamos devolviendo al Estado miembro. Como dije al principio de esta reunión, nadie más interesado que un Estado en proteger su propio patrimonio. Y tenemos que trabajar sobre la base de la confianza y sobre la base de darle el tiempo necesario a un Estado que nos está con total transparencia explicando en la situación en que se encuentra. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Azerbaijan, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Well, most of my ideas was expressed by a distinguished colleague from Cuba, actually. Regarding new amendments proposed by a distinguished colleague from Australia on Para 3, I think no problem as we refer to the international arbitration, but I don't see any need to delete from Para 4 the same reason after what we have just heard from legal advisors, that there are no any legal impediment to demonstrate the main official reason presented by state party concerned, which is the arbitrary case. That's my first point. And my second point is about new proposed Para 6. I think exactly what was just by a colleague from Cuba, it seems like it's already inscribed and we invite state party to report. That's the first impression. And second is continue reporting. It's a first, it seems a bit vague concept. So we would rather prefer to put something about cooperation, but not like continuing reports. So how we define it, that's my concern. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Norway, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First, Norway supports the proposals from Australia in paragraph 3 and 4. We think it's a better place to put the reference to the ongoing international arbitration in paragraph 3. And we have a few more proposals for paragraph 5. Firstly, we will propose that we in the first sentence put in give urgent consideration, and that we, in the end, add a new sentence that is further recommends that the state party implement a monitoring program for the property. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Now, Australia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just reflecting on the intervention from the distinguished delegate from Cuba, and I do find myself agreeing with the first part of her observation about the tying this coming back to the resolution of the arbitration. So what I'm going to suggest is a slight change in wording to our amendment on 3, and it would, instead of saying until the ongoing international arbitration, it would simply say Hungary due to ongoing international arbitration, and then remove the is resolved. And I think that may satisfy at least the first point made by the delegate of Cuba.
Thank you very much. Spain, please.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. Yo lamento discrepar con la delegada de Cuba, pero creo que es una prerrogativa del Estado someter o no una candidatura. Podía haber solicitado retirarla, y puesto que lo que se ha solicitado es un refer y que nos volvamos a examinar el año que viene, yo creo que es muy conveniente que siga la colaboración con los organismos de evaluación y que las aportaciones o la sugerencia hecha también por Noruega, así como el párrafo 6 que ha sido sugerido por Australia, lo que hacen es reforzar esa preocupación por la protección del sitio, en la medida en que el Estado de Rumanía desea que el expediente sea referido y no sea retirado o no sea objeto de un deferral, pues al igual que en otras decisiones que hemos tomado y que hemos pedido una serie de medidas de seguimiento, nos parece tanto mayor conveniente incluirlos, y si no, pues siempre hay la opción de retirar el expediente, lo cual quizá pues reportaría en un menor seguimiento del estado de conservación del bien y en unas menores capacidad de monitoreo respecto a las mejoras que el Estado parte quiere hacer respecto al programa, al plan de gestión y a la protección del bien. Muchísimas gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you very much. Tunisia, please.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Je crois que le cas qui est devant nous est relativement simple. L'État partie ne souhaite pas que ce comité inscrive et nous semblons nous diriger vers accéder à sa demande. Le deuxième point, le renvoi, alors que les organes consultatifs nous recommandent d'inscrire, n'est pas une garantie d'inscription automatique le jour où ce dossier va revenir devant le comité. On regardera ce jour-là l'état du site. C'est la deuxième idée simple que devrait comporter notre résolution. La troisième, en attendant cela, on formule le vœu à l'adresse de l'État partie de prendre le meilleur soin possible de ce site. Je rejoins dans sa finalité et dans une partie de son analyse l'honorable représentante de Cuba, en ce sens qu'on ne peut pas aller au-delà de la volonté de l'État. Mais le fait que l'État nous demande de retirer et de ne pas inscrire et de renvoyer n'est pas une garantie d'avoir le même avis le jour où ce dossier sera devant le comité qui va statuer ce jour-là.
Thank you very much. Zimbabwe, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank the distinguished delegate of Australia for changing the first paragraph. I think that was one of the major points of contention. I am happy with the paragraph proposed, with the additions proposed by Norway on paragraph 5, and I wonder, given that we have that, whether we really need paragraph 6.
Thank you very much. Cuba, please.
Sí, gracias, señora presidenta. Agradecemos al delegado de Australia por su flexibilidad y por que esta es una opción que refleja la preocupación, o sea, que deja bien claro en ese párrafo las razones por las que estamos retirando esta candidatura y por supuesto que estamos de acuerdo con esta propuesta que él hace. De hecho, era lo mismo que íbamos a proponer. Y en el párrafo 6 y parte de la enmienda de Noruega del párrafo 5, lo que alentaríamos es a buscar un término de mayor cooperación, invita al Estado parte a buscar, a establecer ese canal de comunicación con los órganos de evaluación de una manera en que sea mucho más cordial y de cooperación y no como si estuviéramos dando un seguimiento a un sitio que aún no hemos inscrito. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to the reporter.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So it seems to me that the committee seems to be in agreement with granting the wish of the nominating state party about the referral, but we have heard a number of quite complex amendments on the text as a whole, and we also had a request from the distinguished delegate of Cuba, I believe, to go paragraph by paragraph due to the complexity of the comments received on different paragraphs. So may I request to you, Madam Chair, whether we should proceed in this fashion or not?
Yes, please, one paragraph by one.
Thank you very much. Then paragraph 1 would remain unchanged.
It's adopted.
Paragraph 2 would now read, taking note of the advisory body's evaluation whereby the nominated property justifies outstanding universal value on the basis of criteria 2 and 4 and meets the conditions of integrity and authenticity.
It is adopted.
Then we have the proposal to delete paragraph 3, which would have had the statement of outstanding universal value.
It is adopted.
And then we have new paragraph 3, which was former paragraph 4, which would now read, acknowledges the official request for referral made by the submitting state party due to ongoing international arbitration.
It is adopted.
Then we have former paragraph 5 for deletion.
It is adopted.
Then we have new paragraph 4, which would read, in compliance with Article 159 of the operational guidelines, refers the nomination of Rosia Montana Mining Landscape Romania back to the state party to finalize the measures required to ensure the protection and management of the potential OUV of the property as identified by ICOMOS. Madam Chair, if I may, because earlier I have already flagged this paragraph. I flagged it because it's important. This is the paragraph that refers back the nomination, and this paragraph looks different from the way that we usually refer back the nominations. Article 159 of the operational guideline, as it was already expressed by the legal advisor, sets the time frame for referred nominations, which means that it needs to come back within 3 years. The wording as it stood originally, for which it was proposed to be deleted, and then some delegates suggested to keep it, which is the part about until the matter of the ongoing international arbitration is solved. In my view, it might create some kind of misunderstanding because an ongoing international arbitration might be longer than 3 years. And we commence the paragraph by saying that in compliance with Article 159, which sets 3 years. So I just wish to put this to the attention of the distinguished committee that in my view, the part that was proposed to be deleted would indeed create some kind of inconsistency with Article 159. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Azerbaijan, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chairperson. Just having heard also comments by our distinguished colleague, rapporteur, I would like to clarify the reason why we came up with this draft amendment. I mean, now the part which is now deleted on our screens. We would like to mention in the referral para the main reason as proposed by state party. So that was the reason why we put it there, as it has certain implications on further actions of state party as well. Coming to the issue of timing, again, in order to address this issue, we have put in the very beginning of the para, after certain consultation, the clear reference to Article 159, which sets clear time limit of 3 years in terms of referral. So that's we thought how we could combine these two issues resolved. Having said that, we don't see any problem to add new measures required to ensure the protection. So the part proposed by distinguished colleague from Australia, if all committee members agree with the new proposal, we are not going against, of course. But again, I just want to remind that what was said by legal advisor is that putting the certain reasoning as proposed by state party, it does not have any legal impediment. So what if we can have two? So one is kind of open issues in terms of management and preservation, protection and management, and second, there is reasoning proposed by state party to our committee members, to all committee members. Thank you.
Thank you. Cooper, please.
Sí, gracias, señora presidenta. Nuestra intervención va un poco en función de la coherencia de este párrafo con lo que ya estamos diciendo arriba, que expresamos las razones por las que esta candidatura va a ser devuelta. Tal y como está escrito en el párrafo 4, o sí, en el nuevo párrafo 4, parecería que las razones son por medidas para asegurar la protección y medidas relativas al valor universal excepcional. Creo que lo que propone Azerbaiyán cubre un poco las dos preocupaciones, las que han propuesto la enmienda de Noruega, pero podría estar precedida también por este tema de ese arbitraje internacional que tiene lugar, que es la razón por la cual se está devolviendo al Estado parte este expediente. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Australia, please.
So the part of the draft decision already adopted by the committee is very clear in acknowledging the reason the state party has sought referral, and that is because of the unresolved international arbitration. So I think that the earlier parts of the draft decision now already address that matter, and I do express the view that it is better that the the operative paragraph around the application of Article 159 refers only to the reasons of developing the management and protection arrangements for the property, and that is, I think, a clearer and simpler construction, having already identified the primary reason that the state party has sought referral earlier in the text.
Thank you very much. Please, go ahead.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. I have to say I am not sure at this point whether we agree with putting back parts of that deleted paragraph or not. If I may then put forward the suggestion so that maybe the paragraph could read, in compliance with Article 159 of the operational guidelines, refers the nomination of Rosia Montana Mining Landscape Romania back to the state party due to the ongoing international arbitration and to finalize the measures required to ensure and so on. Maybe the two positions could be bridged by this. Thank you.
Australia, please.
So what I'm suggesting is that it's not necessary in this paragraph to reference the international arbitration at all, because it's already been addressed by the committee higher up in the draft decision. So I would want to see any reference to the ongoing international arbitration deleted from this paragraph, and that is the proposal that Australia is making, and we would like that considered by the committee.
Thank you. Azerbaijan, please.
Well, thank you, Madam Chairperson. Just raise our nameplate to just say that we are in agreement with what was proposed by Rapporteur. But again, back to what I said, if majority of committee members think that there's no necessity, again, to put it here, we, of course, are not going against this common position, but we have already expressed our view why initially we have put it here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Angola, please.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. En analysant les deux paragraphes, 3 et 4, nous pensons que les deux paragraphes peuvent être fusionnés pour faire un seul paragraphe. C'est-à-dire, il faudra, dans un premier temps, justifier pourquoi l'État partie fait la demande. Ça, c'est la première partie du paragraphe. Et ensuite, conformément aux orientations, les comités décident. Voilà. Je n'ai pas la formulation, mais je vois ça comme ça, c'est en deux temps. Pourquoi l'État partie demande la non-inscription actuellement, et ensuite, les comités prennent la décision en fonction de cela, en citant donc les orientations. Voilà ma suggestion.
Thank you very much. Hungary, please. Cuba, please.
Sí, nosotros también preferíamos la propuesta que hace la rapporteur, pero tampoco vamos a bloquear el consenso. Y creo que de esa segunda parte del párrafo 4, lo que más nos genera duda es el término finalizar, a fin de finalizar las medidas. O sea, compartimos la necesidad de asegurar una protección y la gestión del BUE potencial, pero el tema de finalizar nos da la medida que hay como un proceso iniciado sobre un tema, insisto, que es un sitio que todavía aún no ha sido inscrito. En relación a la propuesta del colega de Angola, no sé si sería oportuno mezclar un párrafo resolutivo con un párrafo que es preambular, como es el caso del párrafo 3, pero en cualquier caso nos sumaremos al consenso y quizás, insisto, podríamos aceptar, pero el término finalizar es lo que nos deja un poco de duda en la propuesta. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Zimbabwe, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to ask if we can live with both references in the two paragraphs. Does it do us any harm?
Thank you very much. Australia, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. To actually see whether we can achieve consensus essentially now, what I'd like to suggest is that Australia can accept the inclusion of the words due to ongoing international arbitration, and in response to the observation from the distinguished delegate of Cuba, rather than say finalise, we could perhaps say implement the measures required. And if that was acceptable to the committee, I think we have a basis for moving on.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Then I will proceed to read the paragraph as it looks right now. In compliance with Article 159 of the Operational Guidelines, refers the nomination of Rosia Montana Mining Landscape Romania back to the State Party due to the ongoing international arbitration and to implement the measures required to ensure the protection and management of the potential OUV of the property as identified by ICOMOS. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So there is no objection, I presume. Thank you very much. I therefore declare draft decision.
No.
There are some.
You have to.
Okay, so. Thank you, Madam Chair. So we can now proceed to paragraph 5, which would read, recommends the state party to give urgent consideration to continuing the development of the management plan of the property through measures that ensure the conservation and protection of the property, including through a tourism management strategy, as well as through to the involvement of the stakeholders and the engagement of local communities into the management of the property. Further recommends that the state party implement a monitoring program for the property. Thank you.
Kuwait, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I have no problem with the first edition submitted by or suggested by Norway regarding urgent, but the other part, I'm still a little bit hesitate. I want to make sure, first of all, the monitoring program, which one? And is it common practice when you have a refer decision, you have an implemented monitoring program? That's it.
Thank you very much. Cuba, please.
Sí, gracias, señora presidenta. Nuestra duda también está en la urgencia y sobre todo en el párrafo que dice que pongan en marcha un mecanismo de seguimiento cuando ya arriba estamos diciendo que desarrollará un plan de gestión, implementará un plan de gestión. Me parece que sería un poco redundante en este sentido. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Maybe would the committee like to remove this part or keep it? Can you read it, please?
Thank you. Then I will read out the paragraph again. Recommends the state party to give urgent consideration to continuing the development of the management plan of the property through measures that ensure the conservation and protection of the property, including through a tourism management strategy, as well as through to the involvement of the stakeholders and the engagement of local communities into the management of the property. Further recommends that the state party implement a monitoring program for the property. Full stop. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Hungary, please.
Just a last note to this point, connecting also with paragraph 6. The last recommendation should be as follows, according to our proposal. Further recommends that the state party implement a monitoring program in a dialogue with the advisory. No, it is at the end of the 5th paragraph. Further recommends that, yes, further recommends that the state party implement a monitoring program for the property in close cooperation with the advisory body. And it means that paragraph 6 should be taken out from the recommendation. Thanks.
Thank you. Angola, please.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Est-ce qu'on peut remonter sur le paragraphe antérieur? Le 4, voilà. Moi, nous sommes un peu gênés ici. Peut-être ceux qui ont proposé les amendements au paragraphe 5, moi, je me réfère peut-être une question. Quand on dit mettre en œuvre les mesures visant à assurer la protection et la gestion de la VUE, est-ce que c'est différent de tout ce qu'on est en train de décrire dans le paragraphe 5? Est-ce qu'il y a des différences? C'est une question, en fait.
Thank you very much. Australia, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. We are very attracted to Cuban efficiency on this proposal. We've made a recommendation or accepted a proposition that we should implement the measures required to ensure the protection and management of the potential OUV of the property as identified by ICOMOS, and this is the same point that Angola is making. All those measures were set out in the original decision. They are readily available to the state party. They are captured in all the documents of the committee. So I actually believe now that because of the amendments already made, paragraph 5 becomes redundant, except to the extent that it talks about cooperation with the advisory bodies. So I would propose that we delete paragraph 5, as Cuba suggested, and we then focus on how we want to characterise our expectations of the state party working in close cooperation with the advisory bodies. So delete 5 and move on, please.
Are you all in agreement to remove paragraph 5? Is there any objection? No objection. No, Azerbaijan, we'll give them the floor later. Now I give the floor to Spain, please. Spain.
No.
No? Azerbaijan, please.
Thanks so much, Madam Chairperson. We don't have any objection, just to state that we totally support what was proposed by a colleague from Hungary. And initially we were not against in the deleted para 6 where they stated about the cooperation with advisory bodies. So we also just want to second what was said by a colleague from Australia, so to have it cooperation element in this draft decision.
Thank you very much. That means you don't have any objection. No objection. Okay, can you read it in the final drafting? Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. If I am to understand correctly, we would delete paragraph 5 and we would just keep the part that says further recommends that the state party implement the monitoring program for the property in close cooperation with the advisory body. Or maybe we should also delete that and maybe have a new formulation further down below. It's a question through you, I may ask from the distinguished delegate of Australia. Thank you.
Australia, please. Thank you.
Yes, the suggestion is to delete 5 in its entirety, and then to assist the committee, we would have something that went along the lines of recommends the state party progress this nomination and the recommended measures in close consultation with the advisory bodies. And that would replace what was there and would replace 6 also, if that was agreeable to the committee.
Thank you very much. Cuba, please.
Sí, gracias, señora presidenta. Se nos queda fuera de esa nueva formulación el plan de gestión. No es lo mismo un plan de seguimiento que un plan de gestión. Veo que han tachado algunas cosas ahí. Bueno, creo que si esa sería la nueva propuesta, entonces estaría coherente, pero quería llamar la atención en que no es lo mismo un plan de gestión que un programa de seguimiento sobre el bien. Pero igual nos vamos a sumar al consenso.
Thank you very much. Bosnia, please.
Thank you very much. We would like just to support Australian proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, is there any objection? No? Cuba, please.
Sí, es que esto ahora que tenemos ahí es otra cosa. Hacer avanzar el dossier es distinto a un plan de gestión y es distinto a un programa de seguimiento. Sabemos que tenemos prisas, pero no podemos dejar algunas ideas sobre las que estamos defendiendo. Esto es lo mismo que prácticamente teníamos en el párrafo 3. Recomienda al Estado parte hacer avanzar el dossier de la candidatura, nos estamos refiriendo a eso, por tanto, no sé, me parece que no está reflejando el debate que estamos teniendo hasta ahora. Nos parecería bien lo del plan de gestión, lo de las medidas de seguimiento, pero no ya hacer avanzar como que, o prejuzgar que ya va a haber un próximo dossier.
Thank you. Angola, please.
Madame la Présidente, nous devons simplifier les choses. J'avais posé une question, j'ai reçu la réponse. C'est-à-dire, le paragraphe 5 ne faisait que répéter ce qui est dans la petite phrase qu'on a dans le paragraphe 4, qui dit « mettre en œuvre les mesures ». Toutes ces mesures, c'est le plan de gestion, c'est le plan de... Tout ce que nous sommes en train de lister se trouve dans cette petite phrase-là, « mettre en œuvre les mesures ». Nous devons juste rajouter la dernière partie que propose travailler en étroite collaboration avec l'organisation consultative, c'est ce qui devrait être rajouté dans cette dernière phrase du paragraphe 4. Et puis on règle le problème. Je pense que c'est plus simple et on éviterait justement de parler des dossiers et d'autres choses. Je vous remercie.
Hungary, please.
Thank you very much. To take a compromise in this question, Hungary would like to give a short extension to the proposal of Australia just now. The question is whether a management plan, conservation and protection of the property, tourism should be mentioned or not. I suppose, so Hungary would like to give a proposal to involve these four words into the new paragraph 5, so that recommends the state party progress this nomination and the recommended measures. And now, regarding management plan, conservation and protection of the property and tourism management strategy, and then in close cooperation with the advisory bodies. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Australia, please.
I was going to suggest a serious simplification, which would have been simply encourages the state party to work in close cooperation with the advisory bodies. So I think that's what everybody is wanting to happen. So a simple formulation encourages the state party to work in close cooperation with the advisory bodies. Simple statement.
Cuba, please.
Sí, gracias, señora presidenta. Nosotros podríamos apoyar la propuesta de Australia y le agradecemos nuevamente por su flexibilidad. Muchas gracias.
Thank you. Is there any objection? Shall we go and adopt it according to the final wording proposed by Australia? Could you please read it?
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So paragraph 5 would now read, encourages the state party to work in close cooperation with the advisory bodies. Thank you.
Angola.
Ça nous paraît être incomplète la phrase. Travailler en coopération étroite avec les organisations consultatives pour faire quoi? Ça, c'est la question.
So, do you have any amendment or wording to put it, or just because we cannot just wait until just raise a question without giving the advice? Give us the wording which you proposed to let the member state understand what exactly you want.
Je pense que j'avais déjà fait la proposition. Cette phrase ne peut qu'être rajoutée à la dernière partie du paragraphe 4.
For we have already adopted. We have already adopted. Could you please you have the floor?
Je m'excuse, Madame la Présidente, sinon on va être redondant. Donc le 5 va répéter le 4. En fait, on a demandé à l'État partie de mettre en œuvre les mesures en collaboration avec. C'est la suite du 4. On ne peut pas faire un nouveau paragraphe, rien que pour dire ça.
Thank you very much. Hungary, please.
Thank you. I suppose we should close this debate. For Hungary, both solutions, be paragraph 5, the second and third, Australia, Bosnia, and Australia, Cuba, could be acceptable. But it is more, it is better and more concrete, the first variation, so supported also by Hungary. So if it is possible and agreeable, we should return to this one instead of the second to general formulation. Thanks.
Australia, please.
Madam Chair, please just bear with me for a moment, because I think we've heard from Cuba that they agree with the formulation, and I do agree with Angola's suggestion that this is directly linked with paragraph 4. And what Angola is asking is simply that at the end of paragraph 4 we take these words we're talking about now, so that it says "and encourages the state party to work in close cooperation with the advisory bodies," and then I would add the words "to this end." And that would, I think, meet almost all of the expectations of committee members.
So you want to amend paragraph 4? Everybody agreed? You agree? Everybody? China? Please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We agree with what is there now for the paragraph 5. However, it is your decision whether you want to make a separate paragraph 5 or you want to add it into the end of the paragraph 4 as described by them. It is up to you.
No, it's up to member states. You see, it's up to you. Now, we have to agree. Now, because, you know, it's a matter of procedure and matter of precedent. If we go and come back and go, you will not finish. We have to be practical. Now, you want to, can you read it as a final draft, please? 4 and 5.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair. Then I will first proceed to read paragraph 4, which reads, "In compliance with Article 159 of the operational guidelines, refers the nomination of Rosia Montana Mining Landscape Romania back to the state party due to ongoing international arbitration and to implement the measures required to ensure the protection and management of the potential OUV of the property as identified by ICOMOS." And then for paragraph 5, after the discussions, we have a suggestion put forward by Australia and also earlier put forward by Angola to encourages the state party to work in close cooperation with the advisory bodies to this end. And their suggestion is to put this, if you could just scroll a little bit back up so that we can see the end of paragraph 4. Their suggestion was to add this to paragraph 4. And the distinguished delegate of Hungary instead suggested to keep a version of paragraph 5 that was earlier agreed to be deleted, which would read, "Recommends the state party progress this nomination and the recommended measures regarding management plan, conservation and protection of the property and tourism management strategy in close consultation with the advisory bodies." So I believe that the question is whether the committee may agree with the shorter formulation or the committee requires specific references to management plan, conservation and such. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Tanzania, please.
Madam Chair, I mean, as you clearly show us that we are taking time, and I think there is a consensus already. We are taking the Tanzanian delegation taking the proposal of Angola. We combine paragraph 4 and paragraph 5, and we shorten as Australian has proposed. which Cuba also supported. I think we should not repeat those measures, those are already there in that statement. So we'll support the proposal to combine 4 and 5 and shorten it, please. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any agreement? You agreed about this proposal? All of you? No objection? Okay. Final wording, please. You just put it in the screen.
Thank you very much. Then in this sense, paragraph 4, which would be the final paragraph of this draft decision, would read, in compliance with Article 159 of the operational guidelines, refers the nomination of Rosia Montana Mining Landscape Romania back to the state party due to the ongoing international arbitration and to implement the measures required to ensure the protection and management of the potential OUV of the property as identified by ICOMOS, and encourages the state party to work in close cooperation with the advisory bodies to this end. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Shall we adopt it? Okay. So adopted. I declare? I declare. Yeah. So therefore, I declare draft decision 42, 8B 32 as amended, adopted. Thank you very much. Now, as we have now finished the examination of all nomination, we will proceed with the examination of minor modification to the boundaries of properties already inscribed on the World Heritage List. I give the floor to Mr. Balsamo. Mr. Balsamo, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. For this session of the committee, we received 8 minor boundary modification of properties already inscribed on the World Heritage List. And if there are no objections, in order to save time, the advisory bodies will not present the minor boundary modification of the 5 properties proposed for approval. And the advisory bodies will only present, at the end of this brief presentation, 3 minor boundary modifications, namely those of the Republic of Korea, Jeju Volcanic Island and lava tubes, Croatia, Italy, Montenegro, the Venetian works of defense between the 16th and 17th century, Stato da Terra, Western Stato da Mar, and Ukraine, Kiev, Santa Sofia, and cathedral and related monastic buildings, Kiev, Purchase, Laura. The draft decisions concerning the 5 minor boundary modifications recommended for approval are on page 8-9 of the English version of document 8B add, and page 9 and 10 of the French version of the same document. Madam Chair, you may wish to ask the committee if we can proceed with the adoptions of draft decision 8B37 relating to Croatia, whole city of Dubrovnik, 8B39 relating to Jewish quarter and St. Procopius Basilica in Trebic, Czechia, 8B40 Yelling Monks, Running Stones and Church by Denmark, 8B41 Mont Saint-Michel and its Bay in France, and 8B42 Archaeological Area and the Patriarchal Basilica of Aquileia, Italy. Madam Chair, you may ask the committee if they agree to adopt this 5 decision.
Okay, is there any objection to adopt 5, these 5 together? No objection? Thank you very much. It is so adopted. I now invite IUCN to present the proposed minor modification of the volcanic island and lava tubes, Republic of Korea. IUCN, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
IUCN's evaluation of the minor boundary modification of Jeju volcanic island and lava tubes is on page 17 of both the English and French versions of the IUCN evaluation report. Next slide, please. IUCN notes that this minor boundary modification request entails 5 new components to be added to the existing Jeju volcanic island and lava tubes World Heritage property. IUCN is recommending a partial approval of this minor boundary modification request through the approval of the request to add the new upper geomanorium lava tube system component parts to the property. The recommendation requests the state party to provide to the World Heritage Centre by 1st December 2018 a new large-scale map of the whole of the revised geomanorium component, including all of the relevant component parts and the buffer zone, and also to provide separate measurements for the areas of each of the component parts as well as the buffer zone. Next slide. Sorry, not next slide. IUCN, however, recommends to not approve the addition of the other 3 proposed new component parts, namely Suwalbong Tuff Ring, Chagwido Tuft Cone Complex, and Sojongjul Lava Tube. The reasoning behind this relates to the fact that these are 3 discontiguous components with different and new types of value attributes that require more thorough evaluation in terms of the overall serial values of the existing property. It is also not possible to evaluate the contribution made to criteria 7 and or 8 or to verify integrity, protection and management. In principle, IUCN considers that it is problematic to add completely new components to a serial World Heritage Site, which are not immediately linked to areas already included in the inscribed property. We therefore recommend that the committee requests the state party to resubmit these 3 component parts in the format of a new nomination for an extension of the property with revisions to clarify the boundaries of the nominated components and their buffer zones in order that a full evaluation of these proposals can be undertaken by IUCN. The draft decision is set out on page 8 of the English version and page 9 of the French version of Working Document 8B Add. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there any comments or objections? Thank you. I therefore declare draft decision 42 8B 36 adopted. We will now continue with the minor boundaries modification of cultural properties. I now invite ICOMOS to present the proposed minor modification of the old city of Referral Croatia. ICOMOS, you have the floor.
Thank you for your patience, Madam Chair. So this is the this transnational serial property of the Venetian works of defense between 16th and 17th century. Stato di Terra, Western Stato de Mar, was inscribed on the World Heritage List in 2017, Krakow, on the basis of criteria 3 and 4. The property was inscribed as a series of 6 components in Italy, Croatia, and Montenegro, which represent the defensive works of the Venetian Republic in the 16th and 17th centuries, demonstrating the designs, adaptations, and operations of alla moderna defenses. The 3 states parties had originally proposed a larger series. The proposed minor boundary modification concerns proposed changes to the boundary and buffer zone of one component in Montenegro, the fortified city of Kotor. It is intended to expand the boundary for the component of the fortified city of Kotor to include a new component, the Forte Mare Herceg-Novi. Each of the 2 components would retain its own boundary with a greatly enlarged buffer zone encompassing both of them, shown in the darker yellow. The state party proposes that the 2 components' name be changed to reflect these changes. The World Heritage Committee will recall that there is another World Heritage property in this locality which overlaps with the boundary of this component. This is the natural and cultural historical region of Kotor, inscribed in 1979 on the basis of criteria 1, 2, 3, and 4. This property is much larger, 14,600 hectares, and recognizes the role of this region in the spreading of Mediterranean cultures in the Balkans, which is a very different outstanding universal value than the one we are considering here, which relates to Venetian works of defense between the 16th and 17th century. The site of Fort Tamara in Herceg Novi was originally nominated as part of the serial property, but serial transnational property, but was not included by the World Heritage Committee in the inscribed property in Krakow in 2017. This site experienced severe earthquake damage in 1979 and today has significant levels of tourism pressure. ICOMOS recommended that this site could possibly be considered in the future as an extension, but that there was a need to address the impacts on authenticity arising from intrusive and poorly sited tourism facilities, problems with state of conservation, visitor pressures, and problems arising from dense vegetation growth and buildings. ICOMOS also raised concerns about the delineation of the boundary of this component. While the State Party has started to address these issues, referred to in the World Heritage Committee's 2017 decision, ICOMOS considers that these are significant and longer-term challenges. According to the committee's decision and the previous advice of ICOMOS, the inclusion of this component in the serial World Heritage property should only occur following the completion of the improvements to the conservation of the site and with the benefit of a mission at that future time. These are not possible for a minor boundary modification process. In submitting this proposal, the State Party has not necessarily adhered to the World Heritage Committee's decision by presenting this as a minor boundary modification rather than an extension or major boundary modification. ICOMOS would encourage the State Party to continue its important work and to present this at a later stage as a major boundary modification or extension. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there any comments or questions or objection? No. So now I declare draft decision 42 com 8B 38 is adopted. I now invite ICOMOS to present the proposed minor modification in Kiev, St. Sophie Cathedral, and related monastic building in Ukraine. ICOMOS, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The three-component serial property of Kiev St. Sophia Cathedral and related monastic buildings was inscribed on the World Heritage List in 1990 on the basis of criteria 1, 2, 3, and 4. At the time of inscription, no buffer zone was defined. The property has been the subject of many state of conservation reports since inscription regarding protection, management issue, and sometimes including boundary and buffer zone issues. In March 2017, a joint World Heritage Center ICOMOS reactive monitoring mission was undertaken, and conclusion and recommendations were reported, were then approved by the World Heritage Committee in its first session. As a result, a further state of conservation report has been requested from the State Party by the 1st December 2018. In response, the State Party proposed the extension of 2 buffer zones, which include the 3 components of the property. The overall buffer zone area increases from 220.15 hectares to 356.93 hectares. The major reason for the extension is to provide greater protection for the component, contributing to the OUV by including additional landscape and historic urban areas or features which currently provide an enhanced historical or otherwise sympathetic context for the property, or which are important to control and ensure future sympathetic contest. ECOMAS considered that while the proposed buffer zone is an improvement, is not fully satisfactory. Therefore, further suggestions are made, such as to reduce the boundary down the line the roads by turning behind the first row of buildings, and further other recommendations of this component. So the result of substantial extension to the east, there are substantial extension to the east, south, and west. Therefore, ECOMAS considered that while the proposed buffer zone for the second component, the Kiev-Peshers-Lova component, are considered an improvement, there's also still not fully satisfactory. For this reason, ECOMAS recommends that the examination of the proposed buffer zone of Kiev St. Sophia Cathedral and related monastic buildings of Ukraine be referred back to the state party in order to allow a series of other 5 recommendations which are outlined in the text of this evaluation that can be consulted on page 56 of the document INF 8B1. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any comments or objections? Thank you very much. I therefore declare draft decision 42, 8B 43 adopted. We have now finished the examination of the minor boundary modification. We will now continue with our agenda item 8B and proceed with adoption of the 7th statement of outstanding universal value of properties inscribed at the previous session of the committee. You will find the 7th statements and document 8B added. I now invite Mr. Balsamo to present this file. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Here we are dealing with 7 statements of outstanding universal value that were provisionally adopted by the committee. The 7 statements concern the following properties: Denmark, Kajatua, Greenland, Norse and Inuit farming at the edge of the ice cap; India, archaeological site of Nalanda Malahivihara at Nalanda Vihar; India, historic city of Ahmedabad; Iran, historic city of Yazd; Japan, sacred island of Okinoshima and associated sites in the Munakata region; Poland, Tarnowskie Gori lead silver zinc mine and its underground water management system; and South Africa, Komani cultural landscape. This statement have been refined with the cooperation of the advisory bodies and the concerned state parties, and they are now ready for adoptions. Draft decision 42-8B44 is in document 8B add on page 11 of the English version and page 12 of the French version. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you very much. Is there any comments or objections? So I therefore declare draft decision 42-8B44 adopted. We now move to our agenda item 8D, devoted to the issue of the clarification of properties boundary and area by state parties. Please refer to documents 8D, and I now invite Mrs. Batia to present this item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The document WHC/18/42.com/8D concerns the adoption of 9 boundary clarifications, that is, clarifications of the delimitations of properties at the time of their inscription on the World Heritage List by the respective states parties. The boundary clarifications here are 9, and they have been prepared in the framework of the retrospective inventory of nomination dossiers of properties inscribed on the World Heritage List in the period of 1978, as well as for properties inscribed after 1998 in the framework of the periodic reporting. So, Madam Chair, there is a draft decision proposing to the committee to adopt these 9 boundary clarifications. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Is there any comments or objections or views? Thank you very much. I therefore declare draft decision 42.8D adopted. We now move to our agenda item 8E, adoption of retrospective statement of outstanding universal value. Please refer to document 8E and 8E added. I now invite Mrs. Betia to present the item.
Thank you, Madam Chair. These documents, 8E and 8E add, concern the adoption of 21 retrospective statements of outstanding universal value, 20 of which are included in document 8E and 1 in document 8E add. They have been finalized between the 40th and 41st session of the World Heritage Committee, and the regional distribution of the statements of outstanding universal value presented is as follows: 1 from Asia and the Pacific, and 20 from Europe and North America. There is a draft decision on page 1 of the document in both the English and French copies, which concerns the adoption by the committee of these statements of retrospective outstanding universal value. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there any comment or objection? So I therefore declare draft decision 42.8E adopted. So thank you very much, and I just refer to our meeting this morning, and as it was decided to discuss the issue of Socotra at the end of this meeting, I am pleased to inform you that following new information submitted by the state party during the first day of the committee and in consultation with the state party, a joint draft decision 42.7B 100 was agreed upon between the World Heritage Center and IUCN and circulated to you on a blue form a few days ago. Should you need extra copies, the Secretariat stand ready to distribute extra copies now. If you agree, due to the time constraints, I would like to suggest that we adopt this draft decision without further debate. Are there any comments? Thank you very much. So I therefore no comment. So I therefore declare the revised draft decision 42.7B 100 adopted. I now invite Mrs. Nada Al Hassan Chief of the Arab State Unit of the World Heritage Center, to read the list of the natural properties inscribed on the World Heritage List located in the Arab State on the Arab State region, with which the report are proposed for adoption without discussion.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Il y a deux sites qui vous sont proposés pour adoption sans discussion. C'est le 42B 98, le Parc national du banc d'Arguin en Mauritanie, et 42B 99, Sanganeb, donc Parc national marin de Sanganeb et Parc national marin de la baie de Dungoneb, île de Moukawar au Soudan. Merci Madame la Présidente.
Thank you very much. If there is no objection from the committee on this state of conservation report, is there any objection or comments? No. I declare that the decisions read out adopted. Before we conclude agenda item 7B, we still have to adopt the omnibus decision regarding the state of conservation of properties, for which all issues have been successfully addressed by the states parties, and which do not require any decisions by the committee. I therefore invite Mrs. Bataya to just Rofa to read the list of the properties which form the omnibus this year. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The properties which are included in the omnibus list this year are the Grand Canal, China, the Carolingian Westwork and Civitas Corvi, Germany, and the historic center of the city of Yaroslavl, the Russian Federation. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there any objection? Any objection or comments? Thank you very much. I declare decision 42-7B101 adopted. I would now like to ask whether any observer delegation would like to express their view, further view. Nothing. So thank you very much. Yes. We have it. Thank you very. I'm sorry. Who? Switzerland. Okay. Switzerland, you have the floor.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Et la délégation suisse tient tout d'abord à remercier l'État du Bahreïn pour la grande hospitalité et la parfaite organisation de cette réunion du Comité du patrimoine mondial. Nous remercions et félicitons également les États parties qui ont fait de grands efforts en collaborant avec le Centre du patrimoine mondial et les organisations consultatives pour arriver à des inscriptions fortes et convaincantes. Pensons par exemple à Pimachovin, Aki de hier et d'autres magnifiques sites. De même, nos remerciements vont aux États parties qui ont tout mis en œuvre pour renforcer la gestion et la protection de leurs biens, comme par exemple le Belize, qui a réussi à retrouver l'état de conservation souhaité du récif de la barrière du Belize. Cela montre que le respect des processus et des règles définies par cette convention amène à des résultats réjouissants et importants pour la conservation du patrimoine de l'humanité. Nous sommes par contre déçus par certaines autres décisions prises par ce comité. Pour la première fois, un comité a décidé d'inscrire des biens qui étaient recommandés pour non-inscription. Plusieurs autres décisions sur l'état de conservation ont été vidées de leur substance. Les membres du comité qui ont essayé de rappeler les principes de la Convention ont été minorisés. Madame la Présidente, les États partis ici présents travaillent d'arrache-pied pour la protection et la reconnaissance des biens en engageant des discussions basées sur le respect de la Convention au niveau national et en travaillant avec les autorités locales et les populations. Ces efforts entrepris pendant de nombreuses années par nous tous risquent d'être minés par des décisions prises sans respect des règles et des processus définis et sont dommageables pour la crédibilité de la liste et de la Convention du patrimoine mondial. Nous sommes préoccupés de cette tendance et nous savons que cette préoccupation est partagée par beaucoup d'autres. Il est primordial, maintenant, de réfléchir comment retourner vers des décisions basées sur l'expertise et non pas sur des intérêts particuliers. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to Sweden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sweden would like to add its voice to the previous speaker, expressing concerns of the committee's decisions on nominations and state of conservation reports during this session. We made an intervention at the first day of the session regarding this, so I will not repeat our arguments regarding the consequences for the credibility of the Convention, the committee and the World Heritage List. The ad hoc working group has begun to work on these matters, and we strongly encourage continued dialogue between the committee, states parties, advisory bodies and the World Heritage Centre to come up with solutions, including revised working methods and procedures. We would like to underscore that inscription of sites that lack adequate protection and management is problematic, since many of these sites will result in state conservation reports shortly after their inscription. Many problems could have been avoided if they were addressed in the nomination process. Moreover, hasty inscriptions have financial consequences. This is important to be aware of for future sessions, especially since the committee has decided to prioritise conservation over nominations. Lastly, we all states parties should respect and take into account the global strategy for a balanced and credible World Heritage List when preparing tentative lists and nominations. The global strategy is a tool for a credible implementation of the Convention. We encourage state parties to see it as a tool for how to enrich the list, to see it as an opportunity and a means to this end. The credibility of the World Heritage Convention and its sustainable future have many facets. All facets need to be taken into account and be dealt with in a holistic perspective. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Slovenia, you have the floor.
Thank you very much for the floor, Chairperson. Allow me to start by expressing our gratitude to the Kingdom of Bahrain for the generous welcome and organization of this event, attended by delegations from all around the world and watched online. Slovenian Delegation would like to join the group of observer states parties who are following this year's committee session attentively and with great interest, and therefore feel compelled to speak. And as have our colleagues from Switzerland and Sweden just before us. We would like to warmly congratulate all states parties who have presented their nominations and commend them for their endeavours, considerate expert and technical work invested, collaboration with the World Heritage Centre and the advisory bodies. We are particularly pleased with the well-grounded and advanced nomination projects that resulted in a straightforward inscription to the World Heritage List, or just the same, removal from the World Heritage List in danger. On the other hand, we feel discomfort with a number of cases, regardless of a particular region or a state party from where they are from, where the well-defined processes and rules under the Convention and operation guidelines were not observed. In our opinion, this puts the very spirit of the Convention, as well as the professional practice implemented by our experts, respected by local and national authorities and engaged communities, under question. Drawing from our own experience, I can confirm that established mechanisms in question do work, and that all implications of the advisory body's recommendations or even unfavorable committees' decisions can give an impetus to a thorough deliberation and consideration during the development of a convincing, conceptually strong nominations. We highly respect the expertise of the advisory bodies and their openness for a dialogue with the states parties. We seek their advice and benefit from it. The same goes for the World Heritage Center and their competent collaborators. It is such a rewarding experience for us when a property is inscribed on the basis of clearly recognized values. I shall conclude with the well-known fact that the real work only starts after the inscription, with a strong focus on management and presentation of the World Heritage Properties OUV to the public. When it is burdened with the issues that should be resolved prior to inscription, this complicates and adds to the pressure of the complex and responsible task as it already is. I believe this clearly shows that the general respect of the process cannot be emphasized enough. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. New Zealand, you have the floor.
Tēnā koutou katoa. Greetings from Aotearoa, New Zealand. Thank you, Madam Chair, for your leadership of the session and for this opportunity to speak. And thank you, Bahrain, for such a warm and generous hospitality. We would like to add our voice to those observer state parties who've just spoken. As a state party to the World Heritage Convention, New Zealand considers that maintaining the integrity and the credibility of the World Heritage List is of the utmost importance. During this meeting, we have observed a number of decisions that have softened or departed from the advice of the advisory bodies. We would be most concerned if this was to have future implications for the credibility of the World Heritage List. We consider that the provisions in the Convention and the operational guidelines for the advice of advisory bodies and the scientific and objective decision-making are central to maintaining the integrity of the list. Ngā mihi, thank you.
Thank you very much. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for giving Canada the floor. This session of the World Heritage Committee has seen some very positive developments. One example is the concerted effort by the UNESCO Secretariat in Bahrain as host country and chair to diffuse tensions around sensitive issues ahead of this session. This is most welcome, and Canada would like to congratulate all concerned. Several sites of an exemplary nature have been inscribed, and a site has been removed from the list of World Heritage in danger. These are tremendous achievements. At the same time, there have also been worrisome developments, notably a widening gap between the recommendations of the advisory bodies and the decisions of the committee. Canada respects the work of advisory bodies, even when we do not necessarily agree with some of their conclusions. It is for this reason that Canada withdrew one of its nominations for consideration at this session. This will allow us to fundamentally rethink our approach to this nomination in light of advisory body recommendations. The proper functioning of the convention requires not only the state parties serving on the committee to give due respect to the recommendations of the advisory bodies, but also the state parties presenting nominations. This being said, we also recognize that the expertise required to assess increasingly complex nomination dossiers requires the advisory bodies to draw upon increasingly diverse and specialized expertise. Canada encourages the committee and the advisory bodies to discuss these issues and to propose solutions. As a strong supporter of the World Heritage Committee, Canada hopes that these comments will be received in the constructive spirit in which they are intended. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Denmark, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The State Party of Denmark would like to express our concerns over the committee's increasing tendency to deviate from the expert bodies' advice in their decisions and the impact it might have on the credibility of the World Heritage List. As we have just heard, other delegations share this concern, and we feel a strong need to address this worrying trend. In order to maintain the credibility of the World Heritage Convention, we would underline that this deviation between expert advice and committee decisions causes problems for us as observers and state parties' representatives. What are we going to report from this meeting to our colleagues at home and to people who are working hard with preparing tentative lists, nomination, and protecting and managing our World Heritage properties? how can we continue to insist on their obligation to fulfill all requirements that goes with the preparation of a nomination file or with being a property inscribed on the World Heritage List? What we as observers have experienced over the last days makes our work difficult. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Colombia, you have the floor.
Gracias, Presidenta, y gracias de nuevo por su hospitalidad y por todo el patrimonio de Bahrein que nos ha acogido durante estos días. Ayer Colombia inscribió la serranía de Chiribiquete como patrimonio mixto, Presidenta. Lo celebramos con todos ustedes y siguiendo la línea de las declaraciones anteriores, el expediente que presentó Colombia tuvo un trabajo de 15 años de investigaciones, de viajes, de espera, de paciencia. Fue duro, fue un trabajo de muchos actores para llegar hasta aquí. Y luego lo que tuvimos, Presidenta, también la posibilidad de trabajar con los órganos asesores, tuvimos paneles de expertos, tuvimos momentos muy difíciles, pero llegamos con un expediente sólido que cumple con la Convención. Por eso, Presidenta, lo que se ha señalado en este momento, nosotros nos tenemos que sumar con dolor, con sorpresa, con preocupación, pero también con la invitación, Presidenta, de seguir adelante. Lo que ha pasado acá no ha pasado solamente en esta convención, pasa también en la convención de 2003. Así que nos vamos de Bahrein con un profundo agradecimiento con su país, Presidenta, pero también con la certeza de que esto tiene que cambiar para bien de todos los Estados miembros. Gracias, Presidenta.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So now we'll go to the next item. You will recall that it was decided to examine the General Decision 42.7 on the state of conservation of World Heritage properties at the end of our debate on item 7A and 7B. The agenda item was introduced on Tuesday morning last week by the Director of the World Heritage Center and advisory bodies. Therefore, we move to the draft decision. I would like to know whether there are any comments on this matter. Zimbabwe, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Madam Chairperson, I seek the floor to raise a matter that is of concern to us. And this is relating to the decisions and the processes involved in opening sites for discussion at the committee. If you look at the list of sites that were opened for discussion, either on the World Heritage List in danger or on the state of conservation reports, there is a predominance of African sites. This is despite the fact that Africa is least represented on the World Heritage List, although it contains 30% of the properties on the World Heritage List in danger. In fact, among those that were opened, one would have thought that there was discussion to be had. The sites were, the decisions were approved without discussion. So we wonder, why were they opened? This is the same in terms of state of conservation reports, where we had a situation where, for example, there was none from Latin America. From Europe, there was none. It was actually at the request of a state party that the property be opened. Madam Chairperson, this gives us an impression of unfair targeting of Africa and Arab states, and also giving the impression that we are the ones in trouble. If it were not for the NGOs that then raised problems of properties in Europe and other places, we would never know that they also have the challenges that we have. We have therefore made a proposed addition to the draft decision, which really asks that the opening of sites for discussion by the committee be a process that is more rational, that is representative of the properties that are due to report, and also representative of the World Heritage List. This does not preclude state parties from additionally requesting that their properties be opened for discussion because they have specific issues to raise. We are really concerned by this targeting that is happening, and we think it is very negative to a region that is least represented on the list, but which is targeted for exposure, even when it is not necessary. We had a case where a site was opened. The state party did not even bring the expert to answer questions should any questions had been raised. So, Madam Chairperson, we have proposed a draft decision, and we are happy for others to contribute to the text to make sure that it does not preclude state parties from asking their sites to be opened. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Now I give Mrs. Rosler the floor to answer these inquiries. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you to the Delegate of Zimbabwe for the intervention, and we have seen the amendment. I would like just to recall where this comes from. In 2003, the committee requested that the reports be presented according to two categories to this World Heritage Committee. Reports with recommended decisions which, in a judgment of the Centre in consultation with the advisory bodies, require discussion by the World Heritage Committee, and second category, reports which, in a judgment of the Centre in consultation with the advisory bodies, can be noted without discussion. The reasoning is you add more sites to the World Heritage List, we have more reports coming, and so the committee had not enough time to look into everything. So that's the reasoning, and that was in 2003. Now we are 15 years later. Now, since the adoption of this decision, we have a very clear process in our discussion with the advisory bodies. We have a meeting, actually two meetings in April, where we look into all of this. And we have agreed that the following SOC reports would be brought to the committee's attention for discussion based on scientific evidence and threats on the ground for the following points. If a deletion of the site from the World Heritage List is proposed, because you need to take this decision, if inscription on a list of World Heritage danger is proposed, if removal from the World Heritage List in danger is proposed, if the property presents serious conservation issues of utmost urgency, and if significant new information regarding the property has been received after the document was issued. So you heard sometimes that the colleagues from the regional desk and from our nature team presented such new information. Of course, committee members can still decide to discuss any other SOC in detail, provided the request is made to the chairperson. So I'm afraid it's not a mathematical approach, but it's an approach based on the decision which needs to be taken by the committee. So I hope this clarifies. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to Australia, please.
Thank you, Chair. And I do appreciate the question that was raised by the distinguished delegate from Zimbabwe, because it is a valid thing to want to understand the basis on which properties are put forward for discussion around their state of conservation. And my one observation is that we need to be careful about stepping into using a representative basis for doing that, because I wouldn't want us to see ourselves in circumstances where we spend a lot of time talking about properties that don't warrant discussion because the circumstances are not urgent. Australia's proposed one amendment to the Decision 7 just to introduce more of a sense of urgency around the finalisation of the climate change policy, and we are asking that the policy come back to the committee for decision next year, and that it go through a process of development that involves consultation with states parties and with civil society. I'll hand to my colleague to also make some comments about amendments we have relating to state of conservation processes.
Thank you, and thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to refer to the two additional clauses that Australia proposes under the heading Reactive Monitoring Evaluation. In the draft decision, these are numbered 8 and 9. And I just would like to give you some rationale for these. Australia notes with concern, as has been reflected in the remarks of the distinguished delegate from Zimbabwe, that the committee has considered the state of conservation of many cultural and natural sites on the in danger list, for which the state parties' capacities to respond to the threats to these properties are compounded by natural disasters or civil unrest. In addition to these burdens, the managers of all these sites are experiencing overwhelming challenges in responding to the multiple and complex annual reporting requirements associated with an in danger listing. Australia notes that in conformity with Article 11.4 of the World Heritage Convention, the committee decided, and this is Decision 41, Com 14, paragraph 36, that as a priority, state parties concerned with working with the World Heritage Centre and relative advisory bodies should develop costed action plans for sites on the endangered list. And I won't read out the full clause because of time. And as part of this approach, Australia suggests that a funding proposal is developed and placed on the World Heritage Marketplace to fund a workshop to assist state parties with World Heritage properties on the list of World Heritage in danger to implement and staged action plans. These action plans could then be clearly linked to international assistance, and that's our clause number 9. And our clause number 8 is asking that how the committee's decisions could require state parties with properties in danger to document the progress they've made against these staged and costed action plans, rather than to require them to report each year against all the items of the measures required to meet the desired state of conservation of their properties. And we've suggested that aspects of this matter might usefully be considered during the review of reactive monitoring currently being undertaken, and this refers to our clause, suggested additional clause number 8. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Angola, you have the floor.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Lors de nos débats, je pense le mardi, nous avions posé la question au centre par rapport aux biens qui sont inscrits sur la liste du patrimoine mondial en péril pendant plus de 10 ans. La réponse qu'on avait reçue est qu'il y a un processus qui est mis en place pour essayer de répondre à cette préoccupation. Nous avons été informés qu'il y avait un terme de référence d'une équipe d'experts qui travaillait sur la question. Nous avons pris connaissance de ces termes de référence sur l'évaluation des missions de suivi et nous sommes rendus compte finalement que ces termes de référence n'abordent pas la question que nous avions soulevée. Donc, le terme de référence sont plutôt orientés sur les mécanismes d'évaluer l'efficacité des missions du suivi réactif et non d'évaluer la VUE des sites qui sont inscrits sur la liste du patrimoine mondial en péril pendant plus de 10 ans. Donc, par conséquent, nous avons soumis donc un amendement à ce sujet sur ce cas spécifique des sites qui sont inscrits sur la liste du patrimoine mondial en péril pendant plus de 10 ans. Pour continuer un peu mes propos, j'ai juste une question peut-être à poser à la conseillère juridique. En suivant un peu les débats tout au long de la session, surtout concernant les biens qui sont à retirer définitivement de la liste en péril ou de les inscrire dans la liste en péril, nous avons eu des débats qui étaient assez durs et parfois contradictoires, au point où je suis allé voir un peu ce qui est dans les orientations, dans le paragraphe 176, alinéa E. Alors, ma question est la suivante. Pour faciliter un peu le comité dans ce processus de prise de décision, comme nous l'avons toujours souligné, le renforcement des dialogues, etc., est-ce que les missions consultatives sur le terrain qui sont recommandées dans ces paragraphes peuvent être réalisées en intégrant au sein de l'équipe qui fait la mission le membre du comité, par exemple? Voilà la question. Est-ce que les membres du comité peuvent accompagner un peu ces missions sur le terrain? C'est ça ma question. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. Delegate Advisor, please, can you answer the question now?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, I don't see that a legal question is raised here. I think this is a matter that's much more linked with practical, financial and other considerations that would need to be considered by the Centre and the Member States. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Burkina Faso, please.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Nous souhaiterons faire une appréciation par rapport au rapport de l'UICN sur le changement climatique. Et Madame la Présidente, nous notons avec préoccupation les conclusions du rapport de l'UICN et la résolution de l'ICOMOS GA 2017-30 qui indique que le changement climatique est la menace qui pèse le plus lourdement sur les peuples et sur le patrimoine mondial culturel et naturel. C'est pourquoi nous retirons notre demande au Centre du patrimoine mondial et aux organisations culturatives, en coopération avec les partenaires externes, à étudier davantage les impacts actuels et potentiels du changement climatique sur la valeur universelle exceptionnelle des biens du patrimoine mondial. Nous demandons aussi au Centre du patrimoine mondial que le document de rapport de la première évaluation scientifique des impacts du changement climatique sur les barrières des coraux publié en 2017 soit mis à jour dans les BR de l'air afin de permettre d'inclure les projections en ligne avec l'objectif de l'accord de Paris en s'assurant que les conclusions soient communiquées efficacement. Enfin, nous notons avec satisfaction l'engagement de la société civile dans ce processus et réitérons notre demande au Centre du patrimoine mondial et aux organisations consultatives à présenter au Comité du patrimoine mondial à sa 43e session en 2019 un rapport d'activité portant sur le progrès concernant les actions en lien avec le patrimoine mondial et le changement climatique et, d'autre part, la mise à jour du document d'orientation relatif aux impacts du changement climatique sur les biens du patrimoine mondial. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to Mrs. Rossler to answer the question of Angola.
Thank you very much, and thank you to Angola for the question concerning the reactive monitoring. The process is actually explained in paragraphs 169 following, and reactive monitoring is the reporting by the Secretariat, that means the World Heritage Center and other parts of UNESCO, together with the advisory bodies to the committee. So it's not the committee going on reactive monitoring missions. However, I would like to inform you that in the 27 years I have observed, there were maybe 2 or 3 cases of very complex issues. So the committee requested the chairperson to go on a specific field mission together with the advisory bodies and the center. I personally think I remember 3 cases. I hope this answers your question. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Rosia. And before we continue, I just wanted to inform you that because we have a lot of matter to discuss it today, we have to finalize it today, we have managed to stay up to 7 o'clock tonight. Thank you very much. So now, Spain, you have the floor.
Muchas gracias, señora presidenta. He de reconocer que dado que es una de las decisiones de mayor contenido y que supone una serie de obligaciones adicionales para el centro también, quisiera que, a pesar de la falta de tiempo, pudiéramos debatir para saber exactamente lo que vamos a pedir tanto al comité como al centro y a los organismos evaluadores. Nosotros podemos apoyar las propuestas que han sido trasladadas por Australia, y tenía simplemente un comentario sobre la propuesta que ha hecho Zimbabue, entendiendo perfectamente cuál es la racionalidad que hay detrás de esta preocupación, y habiendo escuchado a la directora del centro, creo que es muy complejo, con la cantidad de informes de estado de conservación que tenemos sobre la mesa cada año, alcanzar esa proporcionalidad matemática, y tenemos que buscar una formulación que permita una flexibilidad suficiente para que, con base a esos criterios científicos, puedan llegar al comité aquellos casos que, por un lado, se consideren necesariamente sean objeto de discusión, y también que haya un margen para aquellos estados que desean expresar ante el comité sus opiniones. Por lo tanto, nosotros querríamos, cuando lleguemos a ese punto, hacer unas propuestas de modificación a la propuesta de Zimbabue que podía crear o podría atarnos las manos a la hora de poder evaluar en este comité distintos informes de estados de conservación, tanto de los estados, tanto de los bienes en la lista en peligro como de aquellos que no están en la lista de bienes en peligro. He de decir que estoy un poco perdida respecto a la propuesta de Angola, y sí que me gustaría quizás volver a escuchar la opinión del centro respecto a lo que estamos pidiendo, puesto que me parece que, también entendiendo cuál es la preocupación respecto al gran número de bienes que siguen en la lista de bienes en peligro y a las dificultades que se tiene en el fondo para atender a las necesidades de los mismos, creo que tenemos que tener también que buscar la mejor manera de buscar mecanismos para lograr la protección y que se pueda avanzar para sacar a dichos bienes de la lista. Muchísimas gracias, señora presidenta.
Thank you very much. Zimbabwe, please, you have the floor.
Madam Chair, on 2 things. Firstly, I'm grateful for the explanation given by the Director on the rationale or the process by which they follow to identify sites for discussion. I am, however, not satisfied. There were quite a number of sites from Africa which then passed without discussion. I don't want to question the judgment of the group that decides on the sites. So I still am left with a sense that there is something that needs to be done to try and provide a fair picture of the World Heritage List and the SOC reports and the World Heritage List in danger. I think that can be achieved. I am grateful to Spain for the proposal that they will also propose some text to ensure that it doesn't appear as if we want to now discuss 100 reports. But it is to say that if we are going to discuss 10 reports, those 10 reports should just not be African reports. They should cover the globe and represent everybody. Secondly, I want to thank Australia for the proposals that have been made to further support the countries on the World Heritage List in danger, and also to make it more meaningful in terms of capacity building, in terms of technical as well as assistance to maintain these sites, so that this will ensure that we are in fact doing something to change the status of the countries or of the properties that are on the list in danger. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Cooper, please.
Sí, gracias, señora presidenta. Esta es una decisión bien compleja, entonces tendríamos algunas referencias para otros temas como el tema de cambio climático, entonces me gustaría una clarificación. ¿Estamos viendo solamente los referentes a la lista en peligro o podemos hacer referencia a otros aspectos como el tema de cambio climático? Por el momento me voy a referir solamente a este punto y nos parece que ha sido algo de lo que hemos estado reiterando constantemente, y es a la necesidad y a la importancia de un mayor diálogo entre los órganos de evaluación, los estados concernidos y la Secretaría, sobre todo en el tema del monitoreo reactivo y el seguimiento y el estado de conservación, ya tanto para los sitios que están en la lista en peligro o para aquellos que tienen alguna potencialidad de entrar en esta lista. Nos parece que es fundamental en aras de preservar esa armonía y ese equilibrio que todos queremos y necesitamos de este comité, pero se hace fundamental que ejemplos como los que hemos tenido durante esta sesión, en que se han dado algunos encuentros repentinos o rápidos con los órganos de evaluación, sea una estrategia, sea una política que se mantenga durante todo el año o en aquellos espacios en que sea posible tener este intercambio entre los Estados miembros y los órganos de evaluación. Tenemos algunos comentarios para el tema del cambio climático, pero esperaremos a que avance un poco más la resolución si estamos yendo epígrafe por epígrafe. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Now, I give the floor to Sankits, please. Sankits.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Sankits and Nevis generally supports the content of the draft decision 42.7. However, we note that the wording as outlined in amended paragraph 23 under the section on climate change was extensively discussed at the 41st session of the World Heritage Committee, and as such, we would like to maintain the wording of that portion of the decision, particularly in light of the recent extreme weather events experienced by small island developing states in the Caribbean. A draft amendment to this effect has therefore been submitted regarding paragraph 23.
Thank you very much. Kuwait, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. If we go back to the draft amendment submitted by Australia, please. Yes, I truly appreciate what is being submitted by the Australian delegation to ensure, I know we have a dilemma that we have monitoring missions and they have some recommendation, and with their suggestion, they want to make sure those suggestions to be implemented. But what's worrying us is they are linking to implement those suggestions by raising funds for the capacity buildings and the workshop. So what's worrying us, as we always hear, the lack of funds, and if those funds are not available, we are shifting the responsibilities from the state parties regarding the site to the lack of the fund availability. So I want to just put toward the committee, this might lessen the responsibilities of the state parties regarding the endangered list. Thank you, Madam Chairperson.
Thank you very much. Now, Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Allow me to recall at this point the statement of the Brazilian delegation during the examination of the state of conservation of the Kathmandu Valley, when we stressed the need for more emphasis on the international assistance for the recovery in post-natural disaster situations. We are well aware of the efforts undertaken by the World Heritage Center in light of the strategy for reducing risks from disasters at World Heritage properties, but we consider that more emphasis should be given on the destruction of heritage resulting from natural disasters. However important the destruction of properties caused by conflicts should deserve our special attention, they cannot overshadow the significant and involuntary losses of lives and World Heritage properties caused by natural disasters. Therefore, I would like to propose an amendment to include a new item at the end of paragraph 18, addressing specifically emergent situations resulting from natural disasters. I don't know if it would be the case of presenting this amendment now, or if we wait until we reach this paragraph.
As you like, because we will adopt paragraph by paragraph. Yes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, Australia, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just responding to the comments from the distinguished delegate from Kuwait, and I do understand well what he's saying, so I will, when we come to paragraph 11, well, I could perhaps make the suggested change now. And so at the end of that paragraph where it says, so that these plans, if that could say instead notes, and notes that these plans can be linked to requests for international, don't add it, so, and notes that these plans, and then at the end, after assistance, we'd say, and shared in the marketplace, and capital M, capital P. So I think it's then clearer that it is the prerogative of the state party to then use those plans to seek international assistance or to share them in the marketplace. And may I then lastly just say that I think the suggested change to the climate change text from the distinguished representative from St Kitts and Nevis is sensible and is a clear restating of the decision that was taken by the committee last year.
Thank you very much. Norway, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It is indeed a long and complex decision, this one. I'll try to be brief and make it just a few remarks. We fully sympathize with the emotions expressed by the distinguished ambassador from Zimbabwe. Yet I do wish to reiterate what I understood from the Centre, that this must be an exercise which depends on the site itself and not on arithmetics. So I was thinking maybe we could try to make a language in the proposal in item 12 that we, for example, suggests that from the 43rd sessions, properties opened for discussion reflect proportionality and representativeness of the World Heritage List, something like that, just to kind of round off the language a little bit. I haven't had time to really think out how the sentence should be, but that we suggest that from the 43rd session at least. The SOCs opened for discussion should reflect or should be proportional or something like this. And my second point, and that was just because we were bumping into para 28 before, I was just wanting to ask the World Heritage Center whether that is a realistic time frame. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now Spain, you have the floor.
Si pueden volver al párrafo porque lo hemos perdido para hacer el drafting. Un poco en la línea de Noruega, que se sugiera o se aliente a que los estados de conservación reflejen la proporcionalidad y la representatividad de la lista, en vez de que sean proporcionales y representativos, sino que se refleje esa representatividad en la lista. Gracias.
Okay. Zimbabwe, please, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. I would like to thank the distinguished delegates of Norway and Spain for these suggestions. While I am in general agreement with them, I am wondering why we have changed from the 44th session to the 43rd session, because the list of SOC reports doesn't change. And it's just the meeting that they will have to decide which ones to open. And I think it's one meeting that decides this. And they don't need time to figure out how to do this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brazil, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I understand very much the concerns expressed by the distinguished delegate of Zimbabwe, and I'm very grateful for her to call attention to this topic. And we are also grateful for the suggestions made by Norway and Spain. However, I believe that what should orient our topics here are not to include sites only to make a proportional list. I think what we have to do is to address the situations that really require attention. With this paragraph, we will be targeting countries only in order to make a proportional list, which I don't think should be the purpose of our work. Thank you very much, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Hungary, please.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Hungary agrees in principle with the proposal of Zimbabwe. However, Hungary thinks that the form and the expression of the provided recommendation is not exactly what we would like to have. So in the main points and the main line, Hungary agrees with Spain in this respect.
Thank you very much. Cuba, please.
Sí, gracias, señora presidenta. Seré muy breve, pero compartimos el punto de vista que ha expresado la embajadora de Brasil. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Australia, please.
Yes, we also broadly agree, more than broadly, we agree with the ambassador for Brazil, but I think we have a formulation that may be assistance of assistance. So if I might read it out, and then it could be just up on the screen to assist the committee. And it builds on the intent of both Norway and Zimbabwe, and it would say, suggests that the centre considers geographical distribution as an additional criterion when deciding which properties it recommends for discussion regarding their state of conservation. And that would, I think, enable the centre to give some serious thought to how we make sure that in looking at those properties that are of concern around their state of conservation, that we do so with a sort of broad sweep across the whole of the planet, because it is the case that sometimes with developed countries such as Australia, while we have the view that we are managing our properties very well, there are nonetheless issues that do bear further examination by the committee. And while that might be uncomfortable for us, it is nonetheless the case that in examining those properties, there are lessons that can be learned through that examination for the wider World Heritage community. And I do see the point that Zimbabwe is making, hence this suggested formulation.
Thank you very much. Norway, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. It's always good to have the assistance from a native English speaker when it's getting late in the evening. So I think we would support the Australian proposal and withdraw our own. I was also thinking along these lines that not just geographical but also thematically it could be relevant to kind of look into that so that we ensure we have a thematic representation of SOCs as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brazil, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would still not be very happy, I'm sorry, with adopting as a priority the geographical distribution. I think that the main reason for addressing one site should be its state of conservation. I think that the priority should be the most, let's say, urgent cases regarding the state of conservation. So I think we should consider that the center should consider primarily the state of conservation in different regions of the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Zimbabwe, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate very much the suggestion by Australia, and I think this will go a long way in resolving the problems. I still want to make sure that it says 43rd session and not 44th session, because this is something that is very doable for the center.
Thank you very much. Tanzania, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think we are still struggling with the formulation here. It is not supposed to be an arithmetic distribution of how we deal with the problem, but rather perhaps to capture exactly what is happening in all regions. So perhaps like put forward by the distinguished delegate of Norway, maybe the native speakers can help here. I have a feeling that we have not struck the right word yet. What we are saying is the way it depicts in our workings is there is a disproportional kind of, a disproportional kind of working on the African region, giving an impression that troubles are all in Africa. But like it has been said by other delegates here, they say in some regions also there are, issues that should be brought forward for discussion. So I think we still have to, maybe to look forward and diagnose this paragraph to come out with the right wording. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Angola, please.
Merci, Madame la Présidente. Par rapport à ce paragraphe, justement, Première observation, c'est le verbe, le premier verbe qui est là, suggérer. Le comité ne suggère pas. Si vous suggérez, donc, quand je fais une suggestion, le centre peut l'accepter ou non. Donc, c'est optionnel. On accepte ou on n'accepte pas. Donc, on ne suggère pas. Donc, moi, je propose qu'on mette « recommande » au centre du patrimoine mondial, virgule, en dehors des problèmes ou des principaux problèmes de conservation auxquels sont confrontés les sites, prennent également en compte la répartition géographique et thématique, pour répondre à la préoccupation de la Norvège, comme critère supplémentaire. Voilà la proposition. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. Kuwait, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Going back to the suggestion from Australia regarding the geographical distribution, and I also understand Brazil's concern regarding to meet that criteria, some countries might be targeted. It should be from the statistics point of view, where before the award distribution is normalized count distribution. This way, it will take perspective, you know, when you say normalized count, statistically, it will be fair to each region or each, it will eliminate the targeted point that's what raised by Brazil. If you add, you know, normalized count of the geographical distribution. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tunisia, please.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Nous avons beaucoup de propositions qui sont très proches les unes des autres. Tout d'abord, je relève que la traduction anglaise dans la proposition espagnole, en anglais c'est suggère et en français c'est décide. Je vais rester sur la version française du coup. Et sensible à l'argument par l'honorable représentant de l'Angola qui dit que le comité ne suggère pas et il n'a pas à recommander, d'ailleurs il décide puisque c'est une décision qui se prépare, il me semble que les soucis soulevés par l'honorable représentante du Brésil et du Mozambique nous mènent plutôt vers décide qu'à partir de sa troisième session, les biens proposés à la discussion devrait tendre à refléter la représentativité. Parce que beaucoup l'ont dit, ça ne peut pas être une représentation arithmétique et il peut y avoir des situations d'urgence qui font qu'une certaine région soit plus représentée que d'autres. Tendre à refléter, ça veut dire on ajoute un paramètre supplémentaire. Ça me paraît quelque part équilibrer les tendances.
Thank you very much. So now, with your permission, I will give the NGOs the floor before you adopt the decision. The NGO, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair, for giving us the floor. I am speaking on behalf of the Wildlife Conservation Society and WWF. We wish to congratulate Her Excellency Sheikha Haya for her election as chair, and thank her for ensuring that all states parties and approved observers have the opportunity to intervene and provide relevant information during this committee session prior to the adoption of decisions. We also greatly appreciate the support of the World Heritage Centre, along with states parties, to open the working of the Convention to members of civil society, including NGOs, and the opportunity to comment on the draft policy compendium. We encourage the World Heritage Centre to extend this consultation to Phase 2 to provide suggestions on which policies to develop and refine. We welcome the recent no-go commitments made by Barclays and Standard Chartered and the growing interest of the insurance industry, and strongly encourage the World Heritage Centre to pursue dialogue around voluntary no-go commitments with other relevant private and public sector entities. We note with concern that illegal activities threaten 25% of the sites under review at 42Com and 55% of the natural sites. Criminal networks behind such illegal activities have been responsible for the deaths of our colleagues working in and around protected areas. We express our condolences to the families and friends of those killed while protecting World Heritage Sites. We urge states parties to put in place and implement strong legal frameworks to combat wildlife crime and related corruption, ensure adequate resources for law enforcement at all levels, prioritize anti-poaching and counter wildlife trafficking efforts, including successful prosecutions, and increase domestic and international cooperation. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Canada, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair, distinguished delegates and guests. Listening to the discussion throughout this session on item 7, Canada would like to take this opportunity to share recent news in relation to the state of conservation for the Wood Buffalo National Park World Heritage Site. As a result of a 2014 petition by the Mikisew First Nation, a reactive monitoring mission was undertaken to Wood Buffalo National Park World Heritage Sites by the World Heritage Center and IUCN. In July 2017, a decision was adopted by the World Heritage Committee requesting the development of an action plan informed by a strategic environmental assessment to assess the cumulative impacts of development on the outstanding universal value of the site. Canada respects the recommendations of the World Heritage Committee, supported by the expertise of IUCN, and considers the decision of the World Heritage Committee to be a call to action. We are pleased to report the recent completion and publication of the Strategic Environmental Assessment. As a next step, the Minister responsible for Parks Canada recently announced $27.5 million over 5 years to support the development and implementation of the action plan to secure the future of the Wood Buffalo National Park World Heritage Site. This new substantial long-term funding is part of Canada's recent historic investment of $1.3 billion to protect and grow Canada's network of protected areas as we work towards our 2020 HE biodiversity targets. This represents one of the largest investments in nature and conservation in Canadian history. Canada souhaite réitérer son engagement à développer un plan d'action robuste en réponse aux recommandations du comité. Pour ce faire, le gouvernement du Canada entend continuer à travailler avec ses partenaires des provinces et territoires, ainsi qu'avec les communautés autochtones concernées, afin d'assurer le futur du Parc national de Wood Buffalo et site du patrimoine mondial pour les générations à venir. J'aimerais conclure en remerciant les membres du comité, les collègues du Centre du patrimoine mondial et de l'UISCN pour leur collaboration continue sur cet important dossier. Merci beaucoup.
Thank you very much. And now I give the floor to the reporter to read the decision paragraph by paragraph, please. Block by block. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So after this rich debate, we are all aware that there are several amendments received to this draft decision. So I'm going to start from the top. So paragraph 1 and 2 would remain unchanged. So,
is there any objection that we adopt this paragraph 1 and 2? So it is adopted.
Thank you very much. Then new paragraph 3 would read, thanks the State Party of Bahrain for having organized the World Heritage Site Managers Forum, Manama 2018, as a capacity-building exercise aiming at increasing the understanding of the World Heritage decision-making process among site managers in order to achieve a more effective protection of the outstanding universal value, acknowledges the importance and benefit of this forum and considers that it should be convened in conjunction with all future sessions of the World Heritage Committee.
Thank you very much. It is adopted.
New paragraph 4 would read, takes note of the statement of participants, which calls for transparent, informed and responsible decision-making to emphasize the importance of heritage above short-term political and diplomatic interests, and encourages states parties to support the participation of their respective site managers to future fora and other capacity-building opportunities, as they will be able to offer informed insights which could lead to more effective and efficient management.
Kuwait, please.
Thank you, Madam Chairperson. After reading this paragraph, we at Kuwait and the Arab group truly believe we are involved in UNESCO based on our care for education, culture, and science, regardless of our political point of views. We strongly value the culture content of our work. We also strongly trust that members are working with the clear and responsible agendas, and all of the files in front of us are not political files, they are cultural-based files. We also strongly value and respect the Director General's clear recommendations on not mixing politicals in any file discussion, as we hear in so many occasions and meetings. We also strongly believe that any disagreement or discontent that happens here is based in different cultural backgrounds and technical understanding of the topics and is not political content. Therefore, we do not think that this amendment necessary for or of any value, since we believe that there is no need to reiterate or repeat what already been practicing. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Angola.
Merci Madame la Présidente. Juste un petit rajout. La première phrase. On prend note de la déclaration des participants au forum, pour être précis. Des participants au forum. Et vers la fin du paragraphe, je m'aurais suggéré qu'on simplifie un peu la formulation. Elle est assez lourde à digérer. Donc, je vais proposer, je relis la phrase, encourage les États partis à soutenir la participation de leurs gestionnaires des sites au forum futur et aux autres opportunités de renforcement des capacités, afin de leur permettre de fournir des informations éclairées en ce qui concerne la gestion de leurs sites respectifs.
Thank you very much. No, I know. Yes. Yeah. Shall we wait for her or just continue? Okay. Cuba, you have the floor.
Sí, gracias, señora presidenta. En relación a este párrafo, bueno, primero a nosotros nos pareció muy oportuno la participación y la creación de este foro de gestores que ya tuvo su antecedente en Cracovia, pero nos parece que, y estamos de acuerdo con tomar nota de la declaración de estos participantes, pero específicamente hacer referencia a ese solo elemento de decisiones transparentes, de la importancia del patrimonio y de las cuestiones políticas diplomáticas, nos parece excluyente de otros aspectos que también se señalaron en este foro. Yo creo que sería interesante dejarlo solo en que toma nota de la declaración de los participantes, y la última parte nos parece pertinente, que alienta a los Estados partes a apoyar la participación de estos en próximas ediciones. Y compartimos también de fondo las observaciones que hizo Kuwait. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much. Now I give the floor to Tanzania, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I see Cuba has already struck off, so I have no comment.
Thank you. Thank you very much. China, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm very brief, just to support this proposal made by the Cuba delegation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Tunisia, you have the floor.
Madame la Présidente, la Tunisie soutient les propositions du Koweït d'une part et de Cuba d'autre part.
Thank you very much. Australia, you have the floor.
Yes, Madam Chair. This was a joint proposal between Australia and Norway. From an Australian perspective, having heard the discussion and noting that the statement from participants in the forum will indeed to be incorporated into the record of this meeting, Australia would be happy to support the amendment proposed by Cuba.
Thank you very much. Brazil, you have the floor.
Thank you very much. I think I would just like very briefly to express our agreement with the proposal made by Cuba, especially because we cannot prejudge the results from those forums. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Kyrgyzstan, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, we support what was said by Kuwait, and also we support Cuba's amendment because it makes some middle. It takes both amendments made by Kuwait and Australia.
Thank you very much. I think there is a sort of agreement with member states. Could you please read it?
Thank you very much. I will now read out the paragraph 4, which would read, takes note of the statement of participants to the forum and encourages states parties to support the participation of their respective site managers to future fora and other capacity building opportunities in order to enable them to provide appropriate information with regard to the management of their respective sites, as they will be able to offer informed insights which could lead to more effective and effective management. I'm afraid we haven't gotten to that part of the paragraph. The bigger discussion seemed to be whether we wish to remove and so, if I may, yes, now we see it reflected on the screen, the proposal of Angola to remove the last part. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Australia, you want to? Okay. So, you agree about the wording of the decision? Thank you. No. Yes? So it is adopted.
Thank you. Then paragraph 5 would remain unchanged.
It is adopted.
Then we have a proposal from Angola for paragraph 6, which would read, notes with concern that some properties have remained on the list of World Heritage in danger for more than 10 years. This raises questions on whether the OUV has been maintained and requests the World Heritage Center to establish an inclusive working mechanism for assessing the OUV of these sites and to present a report during the 44th session. Thank you.
Is there any objection to the text? Okay. Is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Then paragraph 7 through 9 would remain unchanged.
Thank you. It is adopted.
And then we have new paragraph 10, which would read, request that the reactive monitoring evaluation includes options for process improvements for sites on the list of World Heritage in danger, In particular, how actions recommended by reactive monitoring missions to assist states parties meet their desired state of conservation should be incorporated into the costed action plans decided by the World Heritage Committee in its decision 41-14. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there any comments or objection? No objection. So it is adopted.
And paragraph 11 would read, further request the World Heritage Center develop a proposal for sharing in the World Heritage Marketplace for funds to support a workshop to assist states parties with sites on the list of World Heritage in danger to develop and implement prioritized, staged and costed action plans, and notes that these plans can be linked to requests for international assistance and shared in the marketplace. Thank you.
Is there any comments or objection? So it is adopted.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And then we have reached paragraph 12, where now we have several proposals for discussion. As it was noted earlier, the sense of all these proposals is the same, but the wording is slightly different. So may I request for you, Madam Chair, if I should just read out all 4 proposals, or if the committee wishes to go into the consideration of the 4 together. Thank you.
Do you think that you need time and you discuss between you tomorrow? We adopt this 4 paragraphs or this group of paragraphs, or you want to discuss it now? Because today, now, we don't have time. So can you discuss it during this tonight? And tomorrow we'll come and finalize the matter. Angola, maybe you want to say something?
Juste pour aider dans la réflexion, en fait, cet amendement a 3 parties, en fait. Il y a 3 parties sur lesquelles on doit se mettre d'accord. C'est d'abord la limite du temps. Est-ce qu'on est d'accord que ce soit la 43e session? C'est le premier problème. Deuxième, c'est les libellés entre représentativité géographique et thématique. Ça, c'est le deuxième volet du problème. Et le troisième volet du problème, c'est ce que le Brésil soulevait. C'est-à-dire qu'il faut qu'on prenne en compte les problèmes de conservation en priorité. Donc voilà les 3 grands problèmes pour qu'on arrive à une meilleure formulation par rapport à cette recommandation. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. So, with your permission, we keep this 3 paragraphs in between brackets, and I don't know whether you want to discuss it together or you just think about it, and we discuss it tomorrow. Do you have any other suggestion about this 3 paragraphs? No. Okay, Zimbabwe first, please. Zimbabwe, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was trying to listen to your proposal to bracket. I think it would be good to work on them. There's general agreement, and as Angola says, it's just to agree on the 3 key principles of the work. So maybe it could be homework that you give us, and we come back tomorrow with some paragraph for consideration. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Australia, please. No? Brazil?
Just a request, Madam, if you could circulate the text that we have now. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. We'll circulate it. The reporter, please. You just continue the other paragraphs. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So after bracketing paragraph 12, paragraph 13 to 25 will remain unchanged as respect to the original. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you want to adopt this paragraph now, or maybe tomorrow you'll find there will be a link between them and then we reopen? we adopt it today or tomorrow? Can we give that? Hungary, please, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. An addition should be given maybe to the paragraph 18, otherwise there is no problem with the paragraphs by the side of Hungary. I don't know it is whether the original one or where it is. It is appeals to all member states of UNESCO. It is the beginning of the paragraph. In this page it appears, yes. Something is missing. I would add to the end that end of the 1970 Convention and the means and preventing the illicit import, export and transfer of ownership of cultural properties.
Thank you very much. Australia, please.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I think we were asked the question, would we be happy to adopt a whole block of paragraphs where there were no changes? The answer from Australia is yes, absolutely.
Yes, we adopt it now? Yes? Without change. You wanted to add? I mean...
No, it is written already, so I am happy with it. Thanks.
We adopt it as it is now? Brazil? Brazil, please.
Yes, thank you. Sorry, Madam Chair, if I am a little bit lost, but I proposed some amendments right after the item emerging situations resulting from conflicts. I would like to introduce 2 paragraphs at the end of this whole paragraph. Could I propose it now, or shall I send it to the Secretariat?
I think you can send it, and we will. You will come back tomorrow with the full amendments for the rest of the decision.
Thank you, Madam.
Thank you very much. And now we'll move to, after your permission, we'll move to item 11. Dear colleague, we will now examine item 11 of our agenda, which concern the progress report on a draft policy compendium. The relevant document is document 11. I would like to invite Mrs. Batiya Tuchef Rofa of the World Heritage Center to briefly present the item, please. Batiya.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And yes, actually, we're passing from the state of conservation to a more general document that we have been requested to produce, and I have the pleasure to present the progress report on a draft policy compendium, which is included in document 11. In document 11 of this session. Just very, very briefly on my side, before I'd request you to pass the floor to the 2 experts from the working group who are going to present the process, the content, the outcomes of the working group. Let me just remind the background of where it comes from. You may remember that at its 35th session in Paris, the committee adopted a decision saying that a new policy guidelines document should be developed as means to capture the range of policies that the committee and the General Assembly adopt. This was a big undertaking for which we needed extra budgetary funding, and thanks to the government of Australia, which pledged its support for the preparation and finalization of the policy guidelines document in 2015, that the work could be started. And it started with a scoping study which the committee examined at its 40th session and requested us to undertake further work along the lines next slide, please. Along the lines of the recommendations of the scoping study. To continue with the background, this decision approved the scoping study and the two-phase approach that was recommended by the study. It renamed, and it's important to remember, because the initial decision was for a policy guidelines, but at the 40th session the committee decided to rename it a compendium of policy of the World Heritage Convention, in order to avoid confusion with the operational guidelines, between policy guidelines and operational guidelines. And then it requested that a draft policy compendium, which has been developed and reviewed by an expert group, working group, be examined at this session. So, at this session, what you have in front of you as document 11 is the progress report, which contains this draft policy compendium. Two-phase approach, as we mentioned in the scoping study. Phase one is the current one. Actually, what you see in front of you in a Word format, in a document format, is a collection of existing policies, and which we are presenting to you as we were requested by the committee at its 40th session. And of course, we have a phase two, which would follow this one, where the policy compendium would be reviewed for consistency between individual policy, and a streamlined text, a final text, would be presented for approval to you at the end, at the next committee session. It is very important to highlight that this is a collection of existing policies for presentation to the World Heritage Committee. The scope of work actually produced a draft policy compendium for further development, and the methodology was identifying and organizing existing policies and not policy drafting. It's very important to highlight there have been no new policies drafted or suggestions about policies to be drafted. Possibly at the next stage, the group can present to you a set of topics, let's say, on which no policies have been identified. One more important element, the future format and the real format of the policy compendium should be an online one. It needs to be a reference tool so that all the users can easily identify the policies they are looking for. Next slide. How did we work? We did a desk study, we did an extensive research of World Heritage policy documents, committee decisions, hundreds and hundreds of decisions on state of conservation, on nominations, other related documents. We had a case law approach, because you do adopt, in the end of the day, you do establish policies through your decisions, and like this, ensuring a holistic approach with a case law analysis of World Heritage Committee decisions on SOCs and nominations. We identified an appropriate thematic structure, or we actually debated on an appropriate thematic structure, which is now was finally agreed between us and presented to you. We had a working group, as we said, and we have two representatives of the working group today with us to actually present the results of their work. And the policy compendium expert group included experts working both in the culture and nature field of heritage from the different regions of the from all the regions of the world, and also we ensured gender balance. So we had a gender balanced, regionally balanced, and culture nature balanced group of experts. So you see here two representatives, one is from the European region and the other one is from APA, and as you can see they are very well gender balanced. Work was carried during two meetings. Well, it is like this. We try to have the gender balance and follow the of course, the priority of UNESCO. Work was carried online, and it was carried out also during 2 meetings that were organized in the headquarters, UNESCO headquarters in Paris, and that was a very, very intensive work, especially during the meetings face-to-face, examining all paragraphs. You'll learn more about that. And just one last point that I wanted to make. You'd all remember that we did an online consultation, which was a very inclusive, very participative one. It was for the first time an online consultation which included not only states parties, committee members, but it included a larger set of stakeholders, if I can call it like this. It included Category 2 centers, UNESCO chairs, and very importantly, civil society. This is really a first experience in this regard, and we do believe that it provided us with a very, very good feedback from a large number of stakeholders. We can go to the next slide, and I think this is the time where I should end my introduction and pass the floor to our experts, Dr. Greg Terrell from Australia and Ms. Maider Maranya from Spain, to present the work of the working group and the document. And may I pass first the floor to Mr. Greg Terrell. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. With your permission, I'd pass the floor to Mr. Terrell.
Thank you very much indeed. I've got about 8 slides to outline some of the choices that the working group faced in developing a draft of the policy compendium. And perhaps the first choice was, over the thousands of decisions that have been made over 45 years, how to select out those key policy-related decisions. And our frame for thinking was a simple proposition of a user wanting to find out policy on key items such as local communities or factors affecting properties, transport, development, buildings, and so forth. And to answer that, our first challenge was to have a broad operating definition of what policy was. And we didn't spend too much time on this, but that we understood that policy is in effect an agreed approach, how to approach something. By contrast with operational issues is the process or the timelines to go about following a particular process. So policy and operational issues can exist on something of a continuum, but we were very keen to have a fairly clear distinction between what is in the operational guidelines, how to go about matters, and what might be in the policy compendium, the basic approaches to be consistent in thinking about a class of activities. Next slide, please. A critical question we faced was the audience. For whom should this compendium be developed? And as you see on the screen, we came up with really 3 audiences. The primary audience, the committee. Secondary audiences, or major audiences, including those experts and others, observers who attend committee meetings, but also beyond them, those who are involved in managing sites around the world. Many thousands of people, in effect. And beyond them, a broader group of interested parties. And in some ways, the aim of what we were trying to do was to provide an easy access guide so that across that whole system, across all of those audiences, people could readily understand what policy decisions had been taken over the past 45 years. Next slide, please. Our next choice, our next decision, was where to look for the policies. And as the Centre has already mentioned, our primary document sources were the Convention itself, but the decisions taken by the World Heritage Committee and by the World Heritage General Assembly. That is a vast body of work, a vast number of decisions. But we're also concerned to look more broadly in the UNESCO context and in the UN system context to make sure that all critical policy areas were covered and that there were no very strong gaps in what was left. And I'm happy to report that what we found, and what you'll see in the draft in front of you, is that through the committee's decisions and the General Assembly's decisions, all main policy areas are covered, and there is very little in the UNESCO system or the UN system that stands as a gap. Next slide, please. So of the many thousands of policies contained within committee and General Assembly decisions, the next question that arose was how to quote those policies. Not all policies identify themselves as such. Some are implicit statements that apply to a general category of activity. Some are very directly characterised as policies. And what we tried to do was very much to lift out all of those policies and to quote as much as was needed, but as little as was needed to be clear, so as to keep the length manageable of all of those policies. Our critical guiding line was always to keep original wording. We did not change any wording from originals. In a couple of instances, we have inserted in square brackets references to the World Heritage Committee or the World Heritage Centre or perhaps state parties, just to be clear to whom a particular policy may apply. But that's in square brackets. It's always been identified, and in no other instance did we add, detract or change from the wording. Next slide, please. Having sorted through and found the key policies that we thought were relevant, the next question was what structure to adopt. To list them alphabetically, chronologically, by the type of document that they're included in, or by some other order. What we found was that there is no option that avoids overlap. In many cases, policies are relevant to several categories of activity. But we made the choice, rather than repeat often, we would place policies in the category that they were most relevant. We also made a very deliberate decision that in choosing the headings of categories, we would only use terminology that was consistent with other processes underway in World Heritage related to the operational guidelines, periodic reporting, and so forth. Next slide, please. After much discussion, we decided that the most familiar and therefore the best structure to order the policies in for this paper-based version in front of you was the 5 Cs. They're very familiar, they align well with the Convention objectives, and they are a structure that does enable the creation of subheadings under each objective that follow procedural and other categories. And in addition, we've created a general chapter and some long annexes showing where we have drawn our policies from. Next slide, please. A further challenge that we faced, a further choice that we faced, was whether, in effect, some policies are more important than others. And in this respect, we made the decision that, in our view, policies that come directly from the Convention are the most important. The next most important are strategies and policies adopted directly by the World Heritage Committee or the General Assembly. The third category was the operational guidelines. Also other UNESCO recommendations and decisions, and finally what we have called case law, which is really decisions that are adopted consistently over time, particularly under items 7 and 8 on our agenda. We faced a situation, and you'll see this from the footnotes in the policy compendium where we've referenced many decisions, where there were often similar policies on the same topic with slightly different wording. In this case, we chose to follow the most consistently used wording and with a preference for wording from more recent decisions rather than older decisions. We thought we might face a challenge of policies that were different from each other, that were diverging. And we were not sure if that situation would arise, quite how to respond. As it turned out, that situation was more theoretical than real. And if I may give an example, in relation, for example, to the consultation with local communities. In the space of 5 years, consultation with local communities at one stage was recommended not to take place before a nomination was inscribed to avoid the possibility of disappointing those communities. Within 5 years, that position had reversed, and so consultation was urged with local communities. That's an illustration to show that policies evolve, but they don't necessarily diverge. Clearly, the Convention had been elaborating its thinking, and eventually, of course, that approach became captured in one of the 5 Cs. Finally, in relation to some of these challenges of how to organise the policies, many of the policies, as I've mentioned, relate to a cross-cut. They relate to different elements. That is a feature that is quite prominent in the paper version that you have in front of you, but as the Secretariat has also already mentioned, our aim is to put this eventually online where that will become irrelevant. One final slide. The online consultation that the Secretariat has already mentioned. That online consultation sent out or invited comments on a draft structure, table of contents and context for the policy compendium. It asked 3 questions. The first, which is on your top left, was the proposed content, was the key issues that it was covering suitable to the task? And 97% of respondents answered yes. The second question was the structure. Was the structure a good framework to follow? And we're pleased to report that 95% of respondents answered yes. The third question on the format, was this a suitable, was this an appropriate, a useful way to present? And 97% of respondents answered yes. That was very heartening for our work and enabled us to bring forward the structure that we have in front of the document with you today. So with that, Madam Chair, I'll finish my presentation and hand to my colleague. Thank you.
Thank you. As it was already stated, we created a research process to identify some case law decisions that were key for particular items. We based our research on already existing tools from the Convention. The main source of information was the State of Conservation database, which is accessible online and which was useful to identify decisions through different categories like themes or threats. In this regard, more than 400 decisions related to the state of conservation were reviewed, also 200 decisions related to nominations. In fact, a higher number of decisions were reviewed, but taking into account that committee decisions refer to specific challenges for a particular property, they do not provide a text that could be quoted into a policy compendium. The exercise of the case law tried then to identify common responses to similar issues by compiling at least 3 comparable decisions for similar problems affecting the sites. We also tried that the decision did not relate to a single property, but at least to 3 different properties or more from different regions. As we mentioned, the draft policy compendium compiles already existing policies, and we kept the original wording. For those paragraphs related to the case law, the content of the paragraph is not linked to one single decision, but to different decisions which have had a similar approach to specific subject. In some cases, the wording could be similar to some particular decisions on the state of conservation of a property. However, the text has the aim to highlight common approaches to general issues. During the drafting of the policy compendium, next slide, please, the expert group was aware of the differences among categories and even about possible gaps concerning specific topics. Looking to the different chapters, we will see that there is a clear different number of references among categories. It is not the same the number of references under conservation or under communication, for example. Furthermore, the expert group also identified some key areas for the Convention which, however, were not reflected in any specific decision where we could take or quote some text. This is the case, for example, for a key item like youth, where the World Heritage Committee has promoted numerous actions to engage young people in the protection of heritage, but it has not been as such expressed in a specific decision. Therefore, it is important to remember that a higher number of references in one or another category does not mean any type of hierarchy or consideration about the importance of the theme. It is related to the existing references in the consulted documents. Imbalances among categories should be considered for future phases of the work. Next slide, please. Once analyzed the methodology, we would like just to present the results. The experts consider that the current document is a holistic draft policy compendium, including general procedures and key issues. It also gives us a general overview of the committee's work and decision. And in addition to all the above, we firmly believe that the document we are presenting today provides us with a basic framework for next steps. Next slide, please. The draft policy compendium document currently has more than 100 pages. As it was already presented, all this material is structured around the 5 Cs. However, this structure was also tailored to adapt to the specific needs of the exercise. In addition to an introduction to the document, the expert group considered that a first chapter on general policies regarding the Convention should be included. This new chapter is then followed by the mentioned 5C structure. As always, as it was already mentioned, it was also noted that there were a range of policies and a strategy document that could be relevant to the work of the World Heritage Committee, and they have been listed under Annex 1. So the final result is a document composed by an introduction with a methodology approach, 6 chapters, and 1 annex of other standard setting text. Next slide, please. The first chapter, dedicated to general policies, focuses on 4 items: fundamental policies, synergy with other conventions, shared responsibility, and the implementation of the convention at the national level. After this general chapter, we have the 5C structure. The second chapter is dedicated to the credibility of the World Heritage List, which is a long chapter with key items like nominations and the concept of the outstanding universal value, the global strategy for a representative, balanced, and credible World Heritage List, or the upstream process, among others. Next slide, please. The third chapter relates to conservation, where many policies were identified. We must highlight subchapters like protection, conservation, and management of properties, monitoring of the state of conservation, the impact assessment, disaster risk management, or the sustainable development policy and tourism. In order to have a holistic approach to conservation, a subchapter on factors affecting properties was also included. The list of factors then refers to the already well-known list established for the exercise of the state of conservation, and which was also considered for the questionnaire of the third cycle of the periodic reporting exercise. Some subchapters of these factors affecting properties could be like pollution, buildings and development, transportation infrastructure, etc. The fourth chapter integrates capacity building, including general policies on the topic and the key tool of the capacity building strategy. Next slide, please. The following chapter is dedicated to communication, including education and awareness raising and interpretation. And last but not least, the C, related to communities, focuses on some key items for the Convention, like the participation of local communities and other stakeholders, human rights, gender equality, youth, and fostering of peace and security. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there any comments? Australia, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'll be very quick. Australia offers its commendations to the Expert Working Group and the World Heritage Centre for their excellent policy compendium. In our first year as committee members, this policy compendium, including personally, has already been very helpful, and we're sure it will assist the World Heritage System in more consistent decision making. We're pleased that we were able to support the first phase of the compendium, and we look forward to stage 2, in particular the online tool which will improve accessibility and usability. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Norway, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The policy compendium is an important key document for more coherent and systematic implementation of the Convention. Developing it has been an enormous and challenging task. Norway also would like to thank the experts and the Centre for its extensive, comprehensive and immense effort. We also would like to thank Australia for sponsoring this important work. Norway supports this holistic approach, including not only policy decisions, but also the Convention itself, the operational guidelines, recommendations and case law emerging from decisions adopted by the committee. Norway also supports the broad target group. We believe that everyone directly involved in the implementation of the Convention and the management of the World Heritage properties will benefit from having such a guiding document. Nevertheless, since this broad target group not only includes the committee members, the state parties and advisory bodies, but also includes local authorities, site managers, owners and local communities, we are a bit worried that the document, as it appears today, is not as user-friendly as it could be. As a tool, the policy document gives very good guidance. Still, Norway believes it's possible to improve the readability of the document with a small adjustment, namely to include introductory presentations under each major topic. Norway has proposed an amendment to the draft decision to accommodate this, and we would like to hear the Centre's views on this proposal. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brazil, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Very briefly, the Brazilian delegation commends the group of experts for the work carried out so far, especially noting the very solid methodology adopted. And I would like to say that we are looking forward to seeing the result of the second phase of the work next year. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Tunisia, please.
Merci Madame la Présidente. La Tunisie félicite le groupe d'experts pour l'excellent travail déjà réalisé et relève avec beaucoup d'intérêt et beaucoup de satisfaction l'état d'avancement et attend avec intérêt et beaucoup d'impatience le travail final. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. Tanzania, please.
Thank you, Chair. The United Republic of Tanzania delegation commends the experts working group, World Heritage Center, and the advisory bodies on the progress made with respect to the policy compendium. The delegation wishes to thank Australia for her extra budgetary contribution that enabled this important work to be undertaken to this level of implementation. Your Excellency Chair, the United Republic delegation notes with satisfaction on the level of involving stakeholders in the preparation of such an intensive document, including the civil society organizations with conservation missions. Your Excellency Chair, Tanzania delegation also noted during the presentation of this item that the compendium is being finalized for its adoption in 2019. The United Republic of Tanzania is of the opinion that before its adoption, time and the fora should be allowed or given to the government organs, civil societies and other stakeholders to digest this very important document with the intention to popularize it for its effective implementation. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much. Akram, please.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. As some of you will remember, it was ICRAM that actually carried out the scoping study for these policy guidelines, and we're very pleased to see the progress that has gone on. since the time that we presented them to the 40th session of the World Heritage Committee. All three advisory bodies, ICROM, ICOMOS, and IUCN, would like to take this opportunity first to thank the Government of Australia for funding the continued work on the policy guidelines, and also to thank the World Heritage Center and the working group which undertook phase 1 of the work on the policy compendium. As you can see, the amount of work that was needed to collect the various policies, and in particular to collect and analyze the various committee decisions, was a difficult task to undertake in a relatively short amount of time, and the working group should be congratulated on that work. We have noted the committee's discussions of this item just now, and we hope that it will give a better understanding as to how this first draft can meet the needs as foreseen by the committee, and we will work on what improvements may be necessary when we get into phase 2 of the work. The advisory bodies, however, would like to make the following 2 points in regards to the first draft. We do feel that there is still a need to better understand the relationship between this compendium and the operational guidelines. This is especially important given that paragraphs of the operational guidelines which pertain to policy are found within the compendium. There will obviously be a need for very clear procedures to ensure that the compendium is updated at the same time that the operational guidelines are changed. This is one of the reasons why the advisory bodies strongly support the suggestion of the working group that this compendium be developed into an online platform rather than a static document. Furthermore, in keeping with the spirit of the original scoping study, we think that the compendium should contain at the beginning of the document a specific list with web links to the full policy and strategy documents being collected. So, for example, a link to the policy for sustainable development or the strategy for reducing risks from disasters to World Heritage properties. We note that there is already an annex at the end of the document with all source materials, but we feel that the policies and strategies should be pulled out and highlighted at the beginning of the document. As this is foreseen to be an online platform, such a list with links would allow the user to easily find and access policies and strategies in their entirety, to allow them to better understand the context and the content of each of the strategy or policy documents. We think this would be very easy to achieve at a technical level, and would provide an even more valuable product when it is finalized. To conclude, we would again congratulate the World Heritage Center and the working group, and we look forward to hearing any other comments that the committee may have this afternoon. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Angola, please.
Madame la Présidente, nous félicitons également le groupe d'experts qui a travaillé sur cette ébauche et la consultation qui a été faite pour leur permettre justement de nous présenter ces rapports de qualité. Il y a quelques remarques qui ont été faites par la Tanzanie, justement par rapport au temps que nous aurons peut-être besoin pour pouvoir digérer un peu ces documents. J'imagine le nombre de politiques ou des sous-chapitres que comportent ces documents en termes de volume. Bien qu'on va le mettre en ligne, je pense qu'il y a quand même un aspect que les experts devaient prendre en compte. C'est justement le format final pour que le document soit lui-même facilement digéré, disons, par ses utilisateurs. Et malgré cette mise en ligne, il y a toujours des gens qui reviendront dire que, bon voilà, on a du mal à accéder. Donc il faut toujours penser également à une alternative. S'il y a des difficultés d'accès en ligne, qu'est-ce que nous allons proposer pour que tout le monde puisse avoir accès à ces documents, qui est important, qui va nous aider évidemment à avancer dans la mise en œuvre de la Convention. Donc, deux choses, le format final pour qu'il soit facilement digéré et également donner du temps, disons, aux États parties pour pouvoir aller en profondeur et voir s'il y a tous les éléments qui ont été listés et qu'il y a une cohérence dans ce qui a été présenté. Et nous avons bien pris note, et ça c'est fondamental, et que ce compendium, c'est une compilation des politiques existantes et qu'il n'y aura pas de nouvelles politiques élaborées qui feront partie. Donc, déjà avec cette note, ça demandera à ce qu'un examen un peu fin du contenu du propre compendium soit fait. Voilà pourquoi donc nous sommes d'accord avec la Tanzanie qu'on ait un peu plus de temps pour filtrer un peu cet élément qui a été souligné dans la présentation. Je vous remercie.
Thank you very much. I give the floor now to Zimbabwe.
Madam Chair, the delegation of Zimbabwe would like to add its voice to the other states parties in thanking the World Heritage Center and the advisory bodies for contributing to the assemblage of the various relevant policies that came up with the draft compendium. We would also like to thank the States Party of Australia for availing the much needed funding to carry out the work. We strongly feel this is the right step in guiding decisions as we implement the World Heritage Convention. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I give Batiaya the floor to answer the questions, and then our reporter to read it as final.
Many thanks, Madam Chair, for giving us the floor to respond very quickly. As you said, we're running out of time. First, I'd like to thank you very much for the kind words, for the work of the expert working group, and overall for the work that has been done. Norway had a proposal to make the document more digestible by the general audience, and you have proposed an amendment in this regard, which we'll see on the screen immediately. We fully agree that this is a very good exercise. It is a doable option, and it is fully acceptable. Of course, there were comments made by a number of you about the digestion of such a complex document, certainly, and this is why we insisted very, very much, both the Centre and the experts, that the online format is supposed to provide a much more easy access and more user-friendliness to this whole exercise, which now seems a little bit complex. That is, we hear you, what you say about the digestion. It has already been taken on board, and we'll be working in this regard. How far before the committee we can provide the document? Well, that's not so easy to say from today, but certainly some kind of consultation will be organized. Thank you very much for the comments of the advisory bodies as well, and of ICROM more specifically. We have noted the comments made by you, but let me clarify one thing. The advisory bodies were members of the working group. They had representatives in the working group. We have worked together, and they have made an excellent contribution to the work of the group. Of course, there are these general comments are appreciated by the Centre and the group, and as it was rightly noted, the online platform is a must, and the distinction between operational guidelines and policy compendium is certainly something that has been addressed by the group, and also the stage to follow. The specific link with the specific page with web links in the beginning of the compendium instead of the annex at the end, probably we shall have a much clearer idea how it would look like once we have moved on with the online format, which it seems it's called the reference manager for that type of kind of databases. And I think these are all the questions that we had raised. Thank you very much, Madam Chair, for giving us the floor to clarify and respond. Thank you.
Thank you very much. The reporter.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As we have heard during the discussion, I have received amendment on this draft decision. If we could just scroll down a little bit. Thank you very much. It was sent in by Norway, and it was also presented by them. This amendment will add a small request to be taken into account during phase 2 of elaboration of the policy compendium. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. Is there any comments before we adopt the decision, or objection, or inquiries? So we will go to adopt the draft decision. Therefore, decision draft yes, excuse me. Therefore, I declare draft decision 42-11 adopted. So,
you're totally on time. It's 7 o'clock.
Thank you very much. So we come to the end of our meeting today. We just will start tomorrow at 10 as usual, and I hope that we will complete everything tomorrow by afternoon. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Oh, la la.